WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Cavaliers are playing with 4 guards, and the 4 guards out there, along with Cedric, are their best free throw shooters.
Clark in a straight check. Oh, he didn't need to do that. He threw it away. Buc-ee. Score! Furman leads. Timeout, Virginia. Did we just see what we think we just saw? Wow!
No good. Arizona with a prayer that will not go. And the Tigers of Princeton growl their way into round 2 as they upset the number 2 seed Wildcats of Arizona. Oh, no! No! I'm ruined!
Jake, I got some burnt toast on the old bracket. The upset right there. Princeton over Arizona. Furman over Virginia. Those were the 2 big ones as we got day 1 of the NCAA Tournament underway yesterday. And no matter what happens the rest of the tournament, Jake, 2 of these 4 teams are going to make the Sweet 16. Princeton, Furman, Missouri, or San Diego State. Like, imagine telling somebody that,
Told you.
24 hours ago. But that is the beautiful part of this month and this tournament.
It's madness. That's the whole point, right? And, there was big news yesterday around the city in the world of sports. Obviously, big news from the Colts. Big news last night from the Pacers. But yet, the opening round of the NCAA tournament is always center stage. It's always the most fun. Everything from schools that you previously were unfamiliar with, like Furman, to schools that you've always known about but never athletically, like Princeton, to the band director at Northern Kentucky going viral for leading the Northern Kentucky band in Blink-182 and going crazy over it in his moment. That's the beauty of it all, man. The beauty of it all. And who doesn't love it?
So much it could boil down just to that Virginia-Furman finish, Jake. For those unfamiliar, I tweeted out right after all of that happened. The turnover by Virginia, which led to the game-winning 3 by Furman, was made by Kihei Clark. Kihei Clark has played in 160 college basketball games. If you were to make a list, Jake, of people you would trust in that moment, out of all 68 teams, he probably would have been close to the top of that list. He is the guy that, and apologies to Purdue fans up front, Jake, he's the one that threw the pass to the Diakite guy that forced the game into overtime against Purdue 5 years ago in the Elite Eight as a freshman. And so you put a guy in that position who Tony Bennett, I would guess, trust undoubtedly. They still had a timeout. They had a guy wide open, in front of the Furman bench. They could have done a lot of things. He makes that turnover. And then the Furman guard who ends up with it, J.P. Pegas, Jake, he had missed 15 straight three-pointers. 15 straight misses from behind the arc. And he made, that right there sums up March. A guy that is a fifth-year senior that's played 160 games that you would trust unquestionably in that moment. He makes one of the dumbest passes you'll ever see in the NCAA tournament. And the kid for Furman that's clanked 15 straight threes just rise confidently, bang, and Furman now moves on.
You remember when Jacoby Myers threw that pass in the Raiders-Patriots game?
Sure.
I got shades of that the second that happened.
How about Jacoby Myers going to the Raiders?
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Kind of ironic.
If you look last night at the game, here are the games that took place yesterday. And good morning to you, by the way. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Jake Query along with Kevin Bowen. Kevin is decked out in his Celtic green, it's a rugby, right? Rugby shirt?
Yeah, my uncle brought this over from Ireland.
It's very cool.
About a decade ago. It is one of the ugliest St. Patrick's Days, weather-wise, you'll ever see.
It's brutal. I feel bad for the kids that love the St. Patrick's Day parade. It's 40 and raining out. It's like the worst possible
And it's one of those days where the temperature's going down.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be 30.
It actually, you know what? It actually kind of looks like Ireland outside, right?
God, it's such an ugly day for St. Patrick's Day. But yes, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there.
Mark, you got on green?
Yeah. My Oregon shirt.
Okay, good.
Mighty Oregon.
But the scores that took place yesterday, there are always a game. There's always a game after round one where when you look at the scores, because there's 16 games that took place yesterday. You've got True TV, TBS, TNT, CBS, all running games concurrently. So there's always a game or two that afterwards you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, I had no idea that game was even going on. So let me read you real quick the matchups. You guys stop me when I get to the game where you're like, wait, what? I didn't hear anything about that. Alabama over Texas A&M, Houston over Northern Kentucky, Kansas over Howard, Texas over Colgate, UCLA over UNC Asheville. That, by the way, Scotty, had UNC Asheville.
That's your biggest blowout, right?
Biggest blowout right now. 33 is the benchmark for one of the prizes.
That's probably the game, Jake, if you want to stop. Part of it was because it was the last game of the night, right?
I think it was, yes.
That or Penn State, Texas A&M?
Yeah, I was watching the end of Tennessee, and I saw that score in the corner, and I'm like, I don't need to stay up for that one. That one I can go to bed for.
Arizona over Princeton, Duke over Oral Roberts, Furman over Virginia, Princeton
State over Arizona. I wish it was Arizona over Princeton.
What I say, Arizona over Princeton?
Yeah.
My bad. Princeton over Arizona, obviously. Penn State over Texas A&M, San Diego State over Charleston. I saw none of that game.
Oh, my God.
That was a good one.
Guys, the Cinderella parlay. Did you guys see the end of that game by chance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jake didn't.
How many did you need?
5.5 points. Charleston is
63-57 the final.
I kid you not. And I hate to be that guy that's just going to moan here for the next 2 minutes about how bad of a beat it was, but please pity with me. Charleston's down 4. They get the ball with 10 seconds to go, 15 seconds to go. They throw one up on the rim, doesn't go in. Now it's kind of a scramble. At 2 different points, they could have gotten a jump ball called, and they would have kept possession. And theoretically it's you inbound the ball with 4 seconds to go, you chuck one up, the game's over. They call a foul as the buzzer sounds on Charleston trying to go for an offensive rebound. It should have been a jump ball. So they put 0.7 back on the clock. San Diego State kid walks down to the other end of the court, hits both free throws to win by 6. I have Charleston at 5.5.
Sorry.
A little bit different mood than last Friday for me.
Betting Louisiana coming in.
Yeah.
Wasn't Louisiana one of your upset parlays?
They easily covered.
58-55 Tennessee over Louisiana. Missouri over Utah State by 11. That was a game also.
Another game I didn't really watch.
Mid-afternoon game, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay. Maryland over West Virginia. I thought West Virginia was going to win that game. Here's a game that I didn't see any of. Arkansas, Illinois. Did you?
Not really. Again, I feel like that was kind of in an awkward time slot as well.
Auburn over Iowa and Northwestern over Boise State. That is round 1. Also, and we'll talk plenty about that over the course of the morning. As a matter of fact, voice of the Boilermakers, Rob Blackman, going to join us on the show today. We also have the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, going to join us. Indiana in action. That's the late game tonight, taking on Kent State, and then it's Purdue and Farleigh Dickinson right around dinner hour. Kevin, big news over on West 56th Street also.
Big, yeah. We kind of hinted at it yesterday. Gardner Minshew would be signed by the Colts. 1-year deal for him. I think he checks a lot of the ideal backup bridge quarterback boxes that you're looking for. And then Parris Campbell off to the Giants. That is a 1-year deal, heavy, as you would expect, heavy injury incentives on that. I think it's just a hair under $5 million guaranteed for Campbell. He can make up to $6.7 million. Does not really make a lot of sense for me, Jake. It's a spot you need help out anyways. I think he would have been helpful, and I think he would have been helpful, especially at that price. That price to me is extremely manageable. And I think 2 things about this move that's worth mentioning. Campbell is different than Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. You need kind of that speed slot element to diversify that wide receiver room. That is a loss with Campbell. And if you look at the wide receivers in free agency, it's a very, very ugly-looking group to begin with. And there's not a lot of Campbell-like guys. Again, more of that speed guy. You can't just go out there and get, Adam Thielen and all of a sudden think that, oh, yeah, that's an upgrade over Parris Campbell. I think you really need to make sure that you're well-rounded for that young quarterback. And I guess that's point number 2. I feel like you've lacked support for your quarterback in the past few years. If you're going to draft a rookie quarterback and start him from day one, you need to have uber support for that guy. So for those 2 reasons, I think this is a loss. I'm also kind of like, Jake, didn't you have patience with Parris Campbell to bring him back? Like, you stuck with him through the injuries.
Correct.
Last year, he played all 17 games. He had 60 catches for over 600 yards, and Jake, you and I were throwing the ball to him.
True. Well, you, especially during our knockout game, you had a couple shots that went errant.
I gave him a nice right there and ready position for him to shoot his shot after that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Do you think the Colts made a concerted effort to retain him?
There was definite mutual interest by both parties to make this a second contract.
I mean, was the contract too rich that he got from the Giants? I didn't think so.
No, not at all.
So how far apart were they?
Yeah, not at all. And when you start looking at needs, okay, hey, a lot of receivers come out now on an annual basis in the draft, and I don't disagree with that. But I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the week. It's critical to support your rookie quarterback with somewhat of experienced guys. When you think back to Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning, they both had experienced wideouts in their building in that rookie season that helped them big time. Jake, the most experienced wideout on the roster is Michael Pittman. He's played 3 years in the NFL.
That's my concern at this point is, even if Gardner Minshew, and I do think that he's, is he going to be the guy that's taking the primary snaps? I don't know about that, but I like him. And I actually think he's got a strong arm. But who's he throwing to now, right? I mean, who's he? Ashton Doolin?
Yeah, and again, I don't think you look at Doolin and think all of a sudden he replaces Campbell. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. The other reminder that I had was just how bad the 2019 draft class was for the Colts. EJ Speed is the only 2019 draft class member of the 10 guys drafted that year by the Colts that made it to a second contract with the team. That's not good, and it's especially not good when you emphasize the draft as much as they do, because they don't spend or they aren't as active in free agency as other teams are. So drafts matter more. And when you miss on draft picks, it puts you in a position that you're in right now. And not to go back and look at the 2019 draft, but let's think back to some of the receivers drafted in round 2 and round 3 of that year. Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson. I mean, it is a loaded draft at receiver after round 1 in that range where the Colts drafted Rocky Scene and drafted Ben Banogu and drafted Parris Campbell. So that's where I think it kind of adds insult to injury on that. So right now, the receivers on your roster of note: Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Ashton Doolin, and Mike Strawn.
I would like to let the record state that it is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day, of course, coming in March. It is the second day of the opening round of the NCAA Tournament. A couple of upsets yesterday. Again, Arizona bounced. Virginia, even though I don't think a lot of people had Virginia in the Final Four, they certainly didn't have Furman beating Virginia, probably bounced. But, and understandably so, I totally get it, and it's very much justified. Getting up this morning, getting ready to drive to West 56th Street, Chris Ballard getting in his car, curious to see maybe what we're talking about as to whether or not next year his Wisconsin Badgers will be in the NCAA tournament, maybe one of the teams from Texas. I think he spent some time down there, and he turns on the radio and he's thinking to himself, I want some NCAA tournament talk, and then this is what he's thinking to himself in his head as soon as he turns on his radio.
It definitely made me think, and I mean, Bowen, every time I freaking read or listen to Bowen, it's like a constant freaking barrage of wideouts.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since we've heard that clip.
That hasn't changed, right?
And again, Jake, to me, it goes up another rung of the ladder when you have the young quarterback, because you need to make sure you support him.
I totally agree.
And that adds to it. I'm a fan of the Gardner Minshew signing. Again, when you talk about kind of what you're looking for in that, and I don't know, is he going to be the backup? Is he going to be the bridge quarterback and start a year? Like that remains to be seen. But think about the boxes that he checks. He's got a good amount of playing experience. He started 24 games in 4 seasons. He played and has started for Shane Steichen 2 games each of the last 2 years, so he can tell this rookie QB, hey, when I've been in games, this is how Shane likes to call plays, or, these are kind of the core principles of Shane's offense. He started 12 games as a rookie. So while he won't have, or he didn't have, the fanfare as a 6th-round pick as this rookie will, he also started in year 1, so he can provide that sort of relatability. And I think by all accounts, he's pretty low maintenance. So when you're looking for, kind of boxes to check for the veteran quarterback behind the rookie, I think Gardner Minshew checks several of them.
Well, that was going to be my question is, do you think that there, and I don't know that there's any way to know this, but, what's the expectation for Gardner Minshew, you think, in terms of what his role is going to be? Is he coming here thinking like, I'm back as a starter, baby?
I think it all depends on who they draft in April.
Well, I think his contract tells you everything you need to know about that. I think Joel Erickson had the numbers yesterday. It can be anywhere between like $3.5 million and $5.5 million. And I think that gap is all due to playing time. If you play a whole lot, you'll get to 5.5. If you don't, then it'll be more in the 3.5 range. So I think the Colts are looking at it like, we don't even know the answer to that. But I think he can handle both roles fine. You can still get a decent evaluation on your football team if he is the one as the starter. So we'll hit on that throughout the show. And then, of course, preview tonight. Purdue 6:50, Farleigh Dickinson, and Indiana at 9:55 with Kent State.
Farleigh Dickinson, I still think fairly screwed, right? After the video?
In my opinion, that sucks.
Excuse me?
I saw De'Aaron Fox retweeted and was like, this is going to be the biggest ass whooping in NCAA history.
I don't know about that, but, I mean, they're fairly clueless. Can we call them that?
Again, the small team in college basketball, they are going to press a whole lot. We'll talk with Rob Blackman coming up in the 8 o'clock hour.
Who's the most famous graduate of Farleigh Dickinson?
About that. Well, probably Mr. Dickinson.
Who is Farleigh Dickinson? Do we know? Should I know that? I remember one time I asked, like, with some university, I'm like, who exactly is that? And they're like, dude, he was like the 5th president.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
I remember looking it up. I don't think he's anyone of note. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into this, but does Arizona losing, does that strike any fear into Purdue fans?
I think that
Arizona's built around their big guys.
I always think, Kevin, that second day opening round favorites are on watch after, you know what I mean? Like, that's always the wake-up call.
Like, I think Zach Edey is a unicorn and is different than even Arizona's big guys. But if you look at the 2 Arizona big men yesterday, they combined, I think it was for like 35 and 17. So clearly they were not the issue. They had 35 and 17 yesterday. Arizona's starting power forward and center. Their guards, though, their 3 starting guards, 6 of 21 and 1 of 12 from 3.
Now here's the thing. Don't you guys just assume we have region bias when it comes to academics? I always assume that schools on the East Coast are like these elite institutions, right?
Last night they were calling Colgate an elite academic institution. I was unfamiliar with that.
I think people confuse Colgate with Cornell, right?
Because they're Patriot League, right?
Now, the students at Colgate, very polished. Yes. So, like, Colgate.
In my opinion, that sucks.
Lehigh, Lafayette, SUNY Cortland. Like, these are schools that you're like, well, these are elite institutions. Farleigh Dickinson, I always considered that, right? Farleigh Dickinson Junior College started in 1942 as a junior college in Jersey. Well, that's like where the guy from...
I've never even been to Jersey.
I bet he went
Settle down.
You think Norm, the pizza delivery guy, went to Farleigh Dickinson? And then in 1948, they got a bunch of money from some dude named Farleigh Dickinson, and they're like, who was the original, I guess, gave the money, Colonel Farleigh Dickinson. She named it after... The woman that originally gave the money named it after Colonel Farleigh S. Dickinson, who died in 1948. So they went ahead in 1948, and they're like, all right, he died. He's no longer a JUCO. Let's make him a real college. That's what it is. Nothing wrong with junior college.
Ziggy Wolf, Vikings owner.
Really?
Seth Greenberg, also alumni from Farleigh Dickinson.
I mean, it's pretty much in New York City. It's one of those New Jersey institutions.
Well, they got here. It says right here, 4 campuses: New Jersey, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Southeast England. What?
Now, did you notice who...
That's the one you'd go to, just for the accents.
Yes.
Did you notice who iced the game for Princeton yesterday?
Yeah, I saw that.
Alec Pierce's brother. Caden Pierce, continuing the strong Pierce lineage.
Alex Pierce.
Alex, yeah. I think that's what Brad Nessler said on the broadcast. Caden Pierce was the Ivy League Freshman of the Year, so that's a pretty good family. His older brother transferred and played at North Carolina basketball. Alex in the NFL. Caden is an Ivy League Freshman of the Year, and I think mom and dad were both D1 athletes.
I believe one of the staff members on Princeton's coaching staff, a Culver graduate.
Whoever the color guy was that was doing the game was unaware that it was Alex Pierce's brother, and he's like, "Oh, I have him in my Dynasty Football League."
Brendan Haywood, maybe?
Was that who it was? Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Nessler, I think, was play-by-play. I love that the two upsets we got yesterday were Nessler and Kevin Harlan on the call. Yeah. Like, those two kind of fit.
Harlan's great
from an upset standpoint. You know, if you look at the technical upsets, obviously Furman and Princeton. Outside of that, it was Penn State over A&M, and it was Auburn over Iowa.
Hey, Auburn's another one of those I said about Memphis. Like, they just play frantic, right? I mean, Auburn plays like Bruce Pearl looks, just like frantic and sweaty and
very intense,
high energy and intense.
Yeah, and
like say Pearl, what you want about Bruce Pearl, but that guy can flat out coach, man.
Yeah, chest painted in the student section for Pat Summitt and the Lady Vols that one year. I don't know if anyone watched. You know, might have been too late, or who knows. Don't wake up and look at Houston beating Northern Kentucky by 11 and think that was Houston up by 25 the whole game and Northern Kentucky's starter. Houston looked bad.
They did.
And injured. Marcus Sasser, their best player, one of the best players in college basketball, groin injury entering the tournament. He did not play in the second half. He tried to give it a go. It did not look good. And then Jamal Shedd, who is their other kind of lead guard, he played, but Kelvin Sampson missed after the game. He is playing through a hyperextended knee. Again, I think tonight Indiana's going to have its hands full with Kent State. But if you want to start looking ahead a little bit, and again, Jake, just look ahead to Saturday, Houston and Auburn. That to me is like a coin flip game, especially with it being played in Birmingham.
Do you know what you get when you have a groin injury? Groin pains?
I'm a little nervous.
Groin pains.
In my opinion, that sucked.
A new record.
Marc,
that's three in the first segment.
Listen, Marc,
22 minutes.
I think you're getting a little bit too much liberty here with the.
I don't think so at all.
I absolutely do.
I'm right on the button.
I think there's people that think that
we have entrusted Marc to handle all audio.
We had a meeting the other day, and they did some market research, and they said the one thing that we've noticed is that most people at 7:20 in the morning are just amazed with Jake's whimsical nature, and they just love it, and especially kids on the school bus.
Shockingly, I wasn't at that meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a meeting you just had by yourself, I'm assuming?
No, I get invited to a lot of meetings you guys aren't a part of. Oh. There's a few things we need to discuss.
Yeah. I have to hand in my key card.
Step into my office.
I feel like Jake's ego's grown
I can't finish that
here
quote.
over the last few days.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Do you think it's grown, Marc?
Would that be grown pains for you guys?
Oh, boy. This is going to be a long Friday show, isn't it?
Marc's got to be thrilled to be on vacation next week.
My Fitbit says I got 4 hours of sleep last night. You guys are in for a good morning.
The other highlight, certainly last night from a local standpoint, the Pacers got probably their best win of the season.
Poor Pacers, man.
Like a shocking result. No Tyrese Haliburton. We can get to that. He's going to miss at least the next 3 games. Hurt his ankle in Wednesday's practice. Anytime your best player misses multiple games at this point of the season, you probably think about him and the rest of the year. But Andrew Nembhard was outstanding in the second half. The Pacers hit 22 3-pointers. They beat the Bucks 139-123. That is the Bucks with Giannis, with Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton. I almost feel bad for the Pacers. Like, no one probably really paid attention to it last night, and yet
totally agree.
It's their win of the season.
Totally agree. I mean, that's tough for certain, because for sure, because and the dunk of the year for Miles Turner right over Giannis. And yeah, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, did you see what happened at the end of the Virginia game?" But hey, what is that? Win 34 for them? 35? What are they at?
I think
32,
right? 32 and 38, I believe, for the Pacers. They've got 12 to go. It'll be the 76ers tomorrow night inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It's their only home game during an 8-game stretch. Philly plays tonight, so we'll see about Joel Embiid and Miles Turner. I know it's not something we'll focus on a whole lot today, but this is kind of a plea for Miles Turner from me. Jake, you think back to that meeting, and I guess all three of us were there, right? Pacers-Sixers earlier this month when Miles Turner barely stayed on the full floor for foul trouble. Joel Embiid's great, right? I think we all can agree on that.
No question.
Joel Embiid, the only team in the history of him playing in the league that he averages 30 points against in the East is the Pacers.
Really? He is just such a unicorn, man. Watching him, I don't know what you do against him.
And so that's my issue with Turner. If you're going to call yourself one of the best defensive players in the league, clearly the other 14 Eastern Conference teams are able to hold Joel Embiid under 30. In his career, he has absolutely dominated Turner and the Pacers. You would like to see a little bit more resistance, like the other teams in the Eastern Conference can do, to keep Joel Embiid from owning you to that level.
I'm really fascinated by this Farleigh Dickinson Vancouver campus, and then the one in England. They got like 5 campuses.
I feel like most schools have multiple campuses. I mean, am I wrong? I guess.
Well, like obviously
Vancouver in England is not IU Kokomo or.
Yeah, I mean, you're right though. I mean, obviously there's satellite campuses for state universities, but this is also a private university.
Is there any concern about Purdue tonight?
I don't think so. I mean, do they have any of the kids from Vancouver playing? Because they got a nice player from the Vancouver campus.
Again, 6'6" and under, 5'8", 5'9", the starting backcourt. I mean, you're going to hear it all night long, the difference in size between Purdue and Farleigh Dickinson, and they will press the whole game. So we'll get into kind of the whys and the why nots.
How about this?
For Indiana and Purdue making
their respective runs. Do you know that not all
runs.
of their athletics are Division I? And the Farleigh Dickinson Division I athletics are the Knights, and the other sports are Division II, and they're the Devils.
That seems odd.
So what does the Division II athletes say?
Well, the coach came from D2, if I'm
the kid
not
that's
mistaken.
running around that is like a gymnast at Farleigh Dickinson, and somebody's like, what team
Does
are
that
you
mean
on?
they have like 2 sets of apparel? Like you can get.
I don't get the different nicknames.
I'm rocking the Devils all day then.
Don't mess with the Devil, buddy. We're number 1. We beat anybody.
Now, they play later today, right, Marc?
The Devils!
Yeah.
That's the New Jersey Devils, which is exactly what Farleigh Dickinson is.
Arizona State against TCU coming up. That's a late game. That's the latest game of the night.
Marc completely amusing himself with his Putty Seinfeld 30-year-old references over there.
That's Marc Dykton on the sound. Jake Query.
Enjoy it.
Kevin
I'm out all
Bowen.
next week.
It
You won't
is
have
an
any.
ugly-looking Friday here in Indianapolis. St. Patrick's Day, unfortunately, not going to be a good weather day at all. It's going to be rainy, and it's going to be cold, particularly as the day moves along. Don Fischer at 8, Rob Blackman 8:30, Greg Rakestraw at 9 o'clock. You're in the week with us right here. Kevin and Corey, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
IU's Trey Galloway joins us. Trey, do you think you need to be a little bit more aggressive offensively?
I think my thing was just trying to get the best shot possible. Pass up a good shot for a great shot. That's huge for us. But I think I can be more aggressive on offense and take shots when I'm open. I think I've done a good job with that, taking shots and being ready to knock it down when it comes out to me. And I can do an even better job, and I'm working on that.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shop the Customer Appreciation Sale at Grand Appliance for the lowest prices and extra savings you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at grandappliance.com. Grand Appliance, experts since 1930.
It's JMV for CarX Tire and Auto and March Saving Madness. Tires, brakes, brake pads, oil changes, and more. March Saving Madness. CarX.com today.
Indianapolis, do you have old, ugly, or even damaged concrete? Not sure what to do about it, but you know you need to do something? Well, you need to call Galaxy Concrete Coatings. This product is out of this world, and it's right here in Indianapolis. And just in time to give your concrete floors a transflormation. Galaxy Concrete Coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy. It's designed to not only work on your garage floor, but you can use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio, commercial or residential. And it's UV resistant, which means it will not yellow. And even better, it can be ready to go in about 24 hours. Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com or call 317-751-9070. Indy, you're ready for a transflormation. Call Galaxy Concrete Coatings today, 317-751-9070. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They are out of this world. Indy, finally springtime, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Edwina did. She called Rhino Shield.
Over the years, I had to touch up the house. I just got to the point where I couldn't spend any more money on the outside of the house. And when I saw Rhino Shield, I thought that was the answer to my problem.
Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
I'd had painters here before, and it was usually quite a disaster with them leaving their equipment here and picking up things in the yard. But Rhino Shield was right on it.
Indy, now get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
The gentleman said, if you're interested, give me a call. And I said, honestly, can you come tomorrow?
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
No paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Can you handle the truth about your problem gambling? Is your truth missing work or important events in your life due to gambling? Do you brag about your gambling wins but hide your losses to the people you care about the most? Is gambling a way to escape pressures from home or work? If problem gambling is your truth, text INGAMB to 53342. Again, text INGAMB to 53342. Or face problem gambling by calling 800-9-WITH-IT. That's 800-994-8448.
Union Pacific Railroad wants you to join its team. It's an opportunity that comes with great pay and benefits. There are a variety of open roles across its 23-state network, including train crew positions, with hiring and relocation incentives of up to $50,000 in some locations. You can even get a free college education while working. Union Pacific Railroad connects hundreds of communities, hauling goods Americans rely on every day. Get your career on the right track with Union Pacific and apply today at up.jobs/sports. That's up.jobs/sports.
Lowe's always has more ways for you to save. On top of our everyday low prices, pros can save big when buying in bulk. Or if your purchase is over $1,500, ask about our volume savings program. A pro associate can provide a customized quote. Ask about our volume savings programs today. It always pays to be a pro at Lowe's. While supplies last, minimum purchase required. Selection varies by location. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Volume discount pricing quotes are valid up to 7 days. Visit your local pro desk to learn more and start saving. Offers subject to change and may not be available in all Lowe's stores.
The basketball and hockey seasons are heating up. Baseball is just around the corner, and nothing beats seeing your favorite team live. Not only does Vivid Seats have great ticket prices, they're also the official ticketing partner of ESPN. And with Vivid Seats rewards, when you buy 10 tickets, you get the 11th free. Download the app or visit vividseats.com today. Vivid Seats. Life happens live. Receive a reward credit equal to the average price of the 10 tickets purchased, excluding taxes, fees, and processing costs. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions.
Hey, it's JMV. I know you're wondering what's in your water. Call Connecticut for a free water test and find out what is exactly in your water and how best to treat it. Connecticut offers a range of products from their Premier Series water softeners to their K5 drinking water stations that can give you bottled water quality right from your tap. Get all the information you need at ConnecticutIndy.com or stop by the Indiana Flower and Patio Show at the State Fairgrounds and visit Connecticut in booth 135. That's ConnecticutIndy.com today.
It's a patio show every day at Indy Decorative Concrete. Hi, Audrey Artisan here with Indy Decorative Concrete. We may not have flowers, admission fees, or parking fees, but what we do have is the city's best showroom for stamped concrete. Come in and see actual examples of endless patterns, textures, and colors to create the patio of your dreams. Stop in and see for yourself. We're on the city's southeast side off of Brookville Road and 465. Indy Decorative Concrete, the patio experts, changing the way Indy thinks about concrete.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, Jake, the upsets yesterday. My bracket is burnt toast to the point where we've got smoke alarms going off in the Bowen household.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You had Arizona going far, right?
Winning it all.
Okay, yeah, that would be a problem.
That's the second time I've done that with Arizona. I did that with DeAndre Ayton's Arizona team.
Doesn't Arizona kind of feel like that, though, every year? Like Arizona is either regional final or upset.
They're the first team I saw in tournament history to lose to an 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Really?
Yeah, so that was the big upset on day one. Probably the most climactic upset was Furman, the steal in the 3 as they beat Virginia. Outside of that, Penn State was dominant. I guess that was technically an upset.
Penn State was really impressive.
They thrash Texas A&M, so plenty of time to rest my head on Buzz Williams' tummy moving forward. Auburn over Iowa. You look ahead to today's slate, Jake. Anything stand out to you?
A couple games that jump out at me, actually. I'm a little intrigued by North Carolina State and Creighton, just because I think Creighton, the higher seed, but I think Carolina State, I don't know, there's something about that matchup to me that's intriguing. Memphis and Florida Atlantic, I think, is a really big one, and that's big for Purdue as well.
That'll be after Purdue. Purdue's at 6:50 tonight. Let's transition from Creighton. Ryan Nembhard for the Blue Jays. How about his brother last night?
Andrew Nembhard, leading scorer for the Pacers. He had 24, that just in front of Aaron Nesmith's 22 and Buddy Hield's 20, as the Pacers, who also got 15 from George Hill, beating the Milwaukee Bucks 139-123 last night. So that really was a game that kind of came out of nowhere.
Jake, I know in an 82-game season, expect the unexpected. That's got to be one of the crazier upsets of the NBA season.
Yeah.
No Haliburton. They had Giannis. They had Holiday. They had Middleton. And what did I say yesterday? 14-point underdog. And how much did they win by?
I mean, they had 7 players Milwaukee did in double figures, led by Giannis's 25. And, for Indiana not just to win, but to win convincingly.
The second half was incredible by the Pacers. They hit 22 three-pointers, so they will be back in action tomorrow night with the 76ers inside of Gamebridge. Again, looking ahead to tonight's 6:50 tip for the Boilers in Columbus, Indiana. It's taking on Kent State and Albany. That is approximately, and emphasis on approximately, 9:55. For Purdue, I think an advantage they can have, certainly in this tournament. It is very hard to replicate Zach Edey. Obviously, that means they are out of Big Ten play. Matt Painter touched on getting out of conference play yesterday.
When you get in conference, I think that holds true in any conference, is like, the opponent actually knows your stuff better than you do. When you get into some of those games, it gets really difficult. But it's also, the different style. And so like now you're going to face different styles if you can keep advancing, and you got to adjust to them. I think the one point to it is you're hoping what you do is harder for them to adjust to than what you got to adjust to them.
It'll be interesting to see, because I think that so much of Purdue rests, Kevin, on their ability to shoot the ball from the outside. Fletcher Lawyer might be the most important player on the roster for Purdue.
Yeah, we'll get into that coming up next. Again, what you should be hopeful for from an Indiana-Purdue standpoint about the respective teams and draws, and then what would be a bit worrisome, as we will see both of those teams in action. If you are taking part in St. Patrick's Day and you hope to watch those games, pace yourself. It's a long day. 6:50 again for the Boilers.
I haven't done my leprechaun impersonation in
9:55 for
Save that for like 10:02.
IU.
That's it. That could have been waited.
Yeah, I was going to say that wasn't one of your best. I actually think the English accent I've told you is pretty good, but
really,
yeah, the leprechaun though.
Thank you.
It is an awful-looking St. Patrick's Day.
It's a gorgeous day outside. The monument is all green.
It has rained for, I think, 24 straight hours, and it is going to be chilly throughout the day. That's obviously Jake Query. I'm Kevin Bowen, Marc Dykton. Kevin Query, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Pacers return home to face the Philadelphia 76ers tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A few weeks back, I had Christian from Window Nation come out to my house, and it was pretty enlightening, honestly, on the issues that I'm having from an energy cost standpoint, airflow standpoint, with the current windows that I have. If you look at your heating costs, your utility bill is probably about 43% of that bill comes from heating costs. And with Window Nation, you can save up to 30% on your heating bills. We know what interest rates are. We know full well where things are financially. So if you're able to save some money with your windows, that is a huge advantage you have moving forward. And obviously, in the cold months, it's going to help you out. In the warm months, it's going to help you out as well from an air conditioning or a heating standpoint. So give Window Nation a call, 866-90-NATION, or go online to windownation.com. Right now, the deal is this. You can beat the rush with 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Plus, you pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. So take a look at that utility bill. Look at your heating costs. It's going to be eye-popping. It's something that's gone up. It's continuing to go up. But the beautiful thing is Window Nation's offering you a deal. Beat the rush. 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Pay 0 down. Make 0 payments. Get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years paying nothing. Call 866-90-NATION or go online to windownation.com.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
In winning teams, every player brings their unique strength and has an impact on the results. The Dallas Mavericks drafted Jason Kidd with the second pick in the 1995 draft. But after 2.5 seasons, they traded him to Phoenix, and he then played for the Nets. It was not until he was 34 when he became a Maverick once again. He was exactly what they needed and became an integral part of a team that went on to win the 2011 NBA Finals over the Miami Heat.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
When there's a chance for a championship trophy, you need to have the right people in the right positions. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 875 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Jimmy, I'm going to ask Rachel to marry me, and I need your help. Take these flashcards. I've got to learn these engagement ring terms. Quiz me.
Okay, Halo, vintage, channel set.
Those are all ringtones.
Ring styles. Now, how about this? SI2, HVVS, ESI1.
I got bingo?
No, those are diamond grades. Okay, table, crown, girdle.
What a queen wears to dinner.
OMG. No, those are all parts of the diamond. Okay, this one's easy. Baraggio, Tacori, Dossi.
I know this. Types of cheeses.
Dude, ring designers.
Guys, don't sweat it. Come to Diamonds Direct and let us teach you how to buy like a dealer buys. We'll teach you all the inside secrets, as well as explain the good and bad when it comes to lab-grown diamonds versus natural ones. At Diamonds Direct, we take all the mystery out of the process and give you the expert guidance you need to make a smart decision.
Here, I made you new flashcards.
Garage, deck, windows, shrubs?
Welcome to married life.
Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're going to get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers paid for their testimonials.
At Great Clips, we know you live a full life, which is why we're full of ways to make getting a great haircut easier. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the look you love from the skilled stylists at any Great Clips salon. Plus, with convenient online check-in, you save time too. So even when you're not thinking about your next haircut, we are. And when you choose Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Download our app today. Join a salon team. Visit jobs.greatclips.com.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Hey, it's JMV. Remember the last time you took a trip? You know, that one where everyone would not stop talking in the morning about your snoring. You might have put up a good front, but you know you were embarrassed. Why don't you do something about it before the next trip? My friends at Aurora Sleep can set you up with a simple, comfortable, and non-invasive mouthpiece that will help you out. Get a better night's sleep while stopping your snoring. Stop being the butt of jokes and hit up Dr. Green at Aurora Sleep before your next trip. StopYourSnoreNow.com today.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I like Buzz Williams. He just looks like a guy you like to, rest your head on his tummy.
That was a very odd way to end the segment.
I've got Texas A&M in the Elite Eight. I think he can coach.
I'm going to lay your head on his belly.
It's a nice pillow.
One of the things that I really like about my pillow is the support. It gives my neck
a little hug.
His name is Buzz.
Oh, this is awkward.
Now, the only bad thing about that, he has a big sweater.
Let's sweat.
Have you ever seen him?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
He looks like, doesn't the Hurley, isn't he a guy that sweats a lot? The Hurley that won last night?
If you're laying on his belly, you're probably bringing some Buzz Williams with you
Buzz
afterwards.
Williams from the neck up looks kind of like the claymation that was used in The Whale with Brendan Fraser.
He used to dip his bald head in oil and rub it all over my body.
Plenty of time to nap for Buzz Williams, right?
Any other coaching breakdowns you'd like to get into this morning?
Yeah, boy. Ugly last night for Texas A&M to say at least. Kind of like my bracket. Arizona toast, A&M toast. What else do I got out? I guess that's it on the Sweet 16 front. But boy, those are some monumental.
Two things about the tournament, Kevin, that I think people can probably tell that I'm very nostalgic about the tournament. I love it. I love the first 2 days. I love the randomness of it. And the thing that makes it great, the thing that always draws people in is you always know that some superpower, blue blood or high-ranked team that's had a great year with expectation is going to get shocked and bounced. You never know if it's going to be your team. Most people have had it be their team at some point. And you love it when it's somebody else's team. But the other thing that I love about the tournament is it just draws out these personalities, and you watch people's 15 minutes of fame right before your eyes. You know, whether it be a player that jumps out and has, captures everybody for a couple of weeks and becomes an overnight sensation.
Doug from St. Peter's.
Or like kids in the band. Was it Northwestern, the girl that playing the flute that was crying, and that went viral. And I know a lot of people, it's, the pep band is always kind of the easy target to make fun of, but like when you're in high school, I mean. But in college, it is such a huge part of the game experience. And the bands themselves and the liveliness they bring to the arena or at football games, into the football games, that's a huge part of the entire atmosphere and culture, and it's their moment too, and that's what I think's cool. Like, you see these kids that play their instrument, and now this is their stage, and they're getting television time, and they're pumping up the crowd in an arena 600 miles from home, and the fans that traveled for their school are getting into it for the fight song or an Ozzy Osbourne song they're playing or whatever. And it's their time to shine, and they soak it in too. And all of it, all-encompassing, is what makes it so great.
Yeah, it's the pageantry of college athletics. As much as things do change, it's that tradition and that just element of we all can somewhat relate to having that fanfare as a college student at one point or another compared to the NBA and professional sports in general, where you just don't get it to that level. Looking ahead tonight, again, Purdue 6:50, Indiana at 9:55. I do think from a Indiana standpoint, the biggest advantage that they will certainly have tonight is Trayce Jackson-Davis. Kent State, extremely small. And I think for teams like Kent State, it's one thing to see Trayce Jackson-Davis. I mean, they played Drew Timme earlier this season. It did not go well for him. Drew Timme absolutely dominated. So if you're an IU fan, you have to love seeing that. But, Jake, when you start committing all that attention to Trayce Jackson-Davis, you can't forget about Jalen Hood-Schifino. And I think it's that combination that for a mid-major team like Kent State, you're not used to having number one on the scouting report, but then you can't lose sight of what's underneath, and that is Jalen Hood-Schifino. I think a massive key for Indiana, whether it's tonight or throughout this tournament, Galloway and Miller Kopp, can they combine for 5 threes a night? If they combine for 5 3-pointers a night, Indiana's going to play quite a while.
I think the challenge for Indiana is going to be, and perhaps it's the same for, there's a world of difference, I think, probably between Kent State's lack of size up front and then Farleigh Dickinson's lack of size against Edey. But I I think Kent State can apply some pressure to Indiana's guards and disrupt what Indiana wants to do. I think we know what Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to be able to do.
It's probably Kent State's biggest strength.
Yeah, but to your point, what did we see at Mackey? When Jalen Hood-Schifino's got that mid-range game going, Indiana's going to be really, really hard to beat. But when Jalen Hood-Schifino and, we saw games this year where Hood-Schifino, Tamar Bates, Galloway, they all contributed to go, 2 of 14 from the floor. Indiana ain't going to win a lot of games like that.
Well, in Mackey, it was Galloway and Kopp. I mean, Galloway specifically was such a difference maker for them when they made that push to start the second half and built that lead, and then obviously played from ahead for the rest of the game. Again, I think what would concern you about Kent State is they have been battle-tested. They have had leads late in games, and their best player, Sincere Carey, has not played well in those games. At Houston with a lead in the final few minutes, at Gonzaga with a lead in the final few minutes, and Sincere Carey, frankly, was awful in both of those games. So if he gets going, what does that do for him? And I think unlike some other mid-majors, and this could probably go one of two ways, Jake, like Kent State has no fear. They also are some loose cannons, to be perfectly frank. They got into it with Ball State pregame before the game in Muncie, or I think it was actually at Kent State. And if you remember last year, they had 4 players suspended the night before their MAC title game and didn't play in the first half of that game. And they had a 14-game win streak going into that game. 4 players out for the first half, and they lose by 20.
Right.
So they are a team that, in this moment, while they might not have any fear, they're also, I think, going to make some plays that probably won't make Rob Senderoff want to jump out of the Albany arena.
For Indiana and for Purdue both, I think Indiana has this is going to sound really weird, Kevin. For Indiana to make a deep run, like I watched Houston last night, and I agree with you. They look like
vulnerable.
They look like they are literally like coming to pit road with a tire losing pressure, right? And
they look like my bracket.
I don't know much about Miami. My understanding is Miami's also pretty banged up, or Drake, but it almost feels like Indiana's biggest obstacle between here and even the Elite Eight may be just making sure they're focused against Kent State and don't get too excited by that. And that this might be their biggest challenge. I know that sounds crazy. Now watch, they'll probably win by 12. For Purdue, again, Memphis worries me. I'm just really fascinated to watch Memphis tonight because Memphis and Florida Atlantic, Florida Atlantic may beat them. They may knock off Memphis.
Yeah, again, that's a 31-win team in Florida Atlantic. They've got a big dude, 7'1", 240, so that matchup with Zach Edey would obviously be something that Edey has not really seen much of this season. I think for Purdue, it kind of goes without saying. I think the advantages are what you like if you're a Purdue fan. Zach Edey, you can't simulate him at all. We saw this with what David Jenkins did in the Big Ten tournament. Whether it's Mason Gillis or Brandon Newman or David Jenkins, they bring guys off the bench, or now Newman's in the starting lineup, but they do have others that have scored at a really high level in prior games, years. So, can Purdue find some of that? Because right now they need it with Fletcher Lawyer's shooting issues.
Are there any other coaches with bellies that you think are pillow-like?
Well, certainly Huggins.
That was the easiest one. You threw Buzz Williams out there yesterday.
Bill Self has got, and
I'm thinking about his health.
Yeah, flippancy aside, Bill Self, I think, there was initially a report that he would rejoin Kansas and be able to coach in the tournament. He did not coach them yesterday. He had 2 stints, right? We know that now. And I can't speak for everybody, but as somebody who had a stent put in, now granted I had a cardiac episode leading to the stent. I don't think he did. I think he just simply went in and they said, hey, let's go ahead and put 2 stents in you. But there is like this, it's probably psychological, but there's a feeling of a vulnerability or like almost like a physical weakness for a few weeks afterwards. You're just very conscientious of every single little thing and like little stuff that you feel every single day, like with your body, just like a tweak or a twinge or whatever, after you've had an intervention on your heart. You're like, whoa. And like it's You're like walking on eggshells for a couple of weeks. So I get it. I totally get why he may have physically felt okay to come back and then walk the sidelines and been like, look, I'm not ready for this yet. So I'll be curious to see when he does come back.
If you look ahead to Saturday's schedule, 12:15, I was a little surprised that they're putting Furman and San Diego State in the standalone game. That's the first game of Saturday. Duke and Tennessee will follow. I would say that's the marquee matchup.
Yeah, Duke-Tennessee's a good matchup.
And again, Purdue would potentially see the winner of that in the
Duke
Sweet
looked good
16.
too, man.
Yeah, Duke absolutely dominated Oral Roberts last night. All right, Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, joins us next.
The state has no wallflowers in this year's dance.
It's the big dance.
Purdue.
Zach Edey for Purdue.
IU.
Trayce Jackson-Davis for IU.
Anyone could win this year.
Purdue was number one for a while.
IU beat Purdue twice.
Check your dance card regularly.
You don't know what you're going to get. It does just matter who they're matched up against.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Invisible Fence brand has protected over 3 million pets. Their training results in a 99% success rate, and they even offer a 1-year money-back guarantee. Learn more at invisiblefence.com.
Do you need new tires? Let me tell you about AAA's new mobile replacement tire service, My Pit Crew. Jake Query here. My Pit Crew, a new mobile replacement tire service from AAA, offers a convenient way to have new tires installed on your car without ever leaving your home or office. The process is simple. Pick out tires online at aaa.com/mypitcrew. Schedule your appointment and then relax. A My Pit Crew technician will come to install and balance your new tires at a time and location convenient for you. That's correct. I did exactly that. Got brand new tires put on my vehicle right there in my own home when the My Pit Crew showed up right there at my house to put the new tires on my car. With My Pit Crew, they bring the tire shop to you. Plus, you don't even have to be a AAA member to use My Pit Crew, but AAA members do get a discount on their My Pit Crew tire installation. Visit aaa.com/mypitcrew to pick out tires and schedule your installation. Then relax and let them come to you. Don't spend another Saturday at the tire shop. Contact the My Pit Crew team today.
If your wedding anniversary is approaching, that means a visit to Barrington Jewels in Clearwater Crossing. You have to see the truly one-of-a-kind creations. You'll find unique anniversary bands and the finest watches, all at great prices with special financing available. Always shop Barrington Jewels first. Consider upgrading her diamond, a truly special way to show your love. Don't wait. Get to Barrington Jewels today. And remember, you haven't seen a diamond until you've seen a Barrington diamond. Visit Barrington Jewels today.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
The final horse now in the gate, and they're off. They're starting off with a double toe loop jump, leaving a difficult 7-10 split. As there's movement on the inside rail. Only 9 pins separate them now as they head to the final quarter mile. They're neck and neck. It's down to the last frame. Here comes the axle jump. They bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Win, strike, savings, gold.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale starts now with limited quantity deals on select performance PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Save on select essential accessories, plus free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
A new career offers new beginnings and unlimited opportunities. Begin your career with Eskenazi Health, ranked as Indiana's top hospital for community benefit by the Lown Institute. At Eskenazi Health, our patients are treated with compassion and skill. That's why Eskenazi Health is looking for professionals who share our mission and have a passion for serving their community. Enjoy excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn more about Eskenazi Health careers at eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
Hey, it's JMV. Sometimes, too many times, bad things happen to good people. Good people get hurt or killed through no fault of their own. That's where Tony Patterson at Parr Ritchie Law Firm can help. Tony understands because he spent his career helping people just like you put their lives back together. He was honored by Best Lawyers as 2020's Indianapolis Personal Injury Lawyer of the Year. See if Tony can help you. The call is free, 317-269-2509, or visit parrinjury.com, Parr injury.com today.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with the set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, I must admit, we are absolutely honored that Don Fischer decides to come on our program when we ask him. He's so generous with his time. There was a thought, just a brief thought, Don, that yesterday when we weren't able to get a hold of you, did you start St. Patrick's Day early in the Albany pub scene?
Well, I should have, but I didn't. No, there was no problem there other than the fact that I turned my ringer off when we were in a press conference yesterday, and actually it was before that. I turned it off just so that I wouldn't get a phone call in the middle of the night, and then I forgot to turn it back on. And then you have to understand I'm old. Therefore, I forgot to turn it back on, and you guys didn't get me on the air.
All good. We appreciate you following through.
It actually worked out,
morning.
Don, because it's pretty cool to have you on game day itself. Indiana in action tonight, the late game, so it could be a late evening. But before we get to the game itself, Don, I think it illuminates an interesting point that fans would find of interest, and that is with the NCAA tournament, you guys, Indiana traveled into Albany when? Would it have been yesterday, or would they have even gotten there on Wednesday evening? What is the travel like for the tournament?
Well, the interesting thing is that, yes, on Wednesday morning I had to be at the Cook Hall location where we catch the bus to go to the airport in Bloomington at 8:45 in the morning. Therefore, of course, we're on bus 2, which is staff and family and all those kinds of things. So therefore, we sat there for another 45 minutes just to wait to get on the airport, just to travel out to the airport. And then you still, it's 30, 45 minutes again when you're getting to the airport and you get everybody through TSA and all that kind of stuff. And so we actually got here right around noon on Wednesday.
Have you ever done a game from Albany?
I have not, and I'm glad I haven't.
Is that because of the sight lines that you'll have tonight, or is that because of Albany, the town?
Albany, the town. Look, I'm not trying to be really negative about Albany, New York, other than the fact it is quite old. Albany's the state capital here. And our bus driver took us on a tour of what would be a couple of factories that were completely dilapidated with broken windows and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing we saw in Albany, New York, was not necessarily the most beautiful thing I've ever driven through. And honestly, it just kind of I don't know. I don't want to tell you what it reminds me of, because if I did, I'd get a lot of people mad. At any rate, Albany, New York is okay. It's not a bad town or anything like that. It's just not what I thought it was, if you know what I mean.
Crossing it off the bucket list.
That's right.
Travel to, okay.
Hey,
no trips to
listen,
Albany.
Don, I've seen a lot of it. I mean, especially in the Northeast, there are places that you look at it and you think to yourself, boy, if I could have been here 80 to 100 years ago, this place must have been something. And then the commerce all left, and you're like, man, at least there's a tournament game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, so let's talk about the matchup itself. You have watched different coaches prepare Indiana for different tournaments over the course of the years. Do you kind of find that this time of year, and we'll take Mike Woodson, obviously, since it's the current coach, does Indiana really start preparing for, like, Kent State and coming up with wrinkles that are the best for a matchup? Or is it more so, look, we've played a season of basketball, this is who we are, and we're going to take our chances that teams won't be able to match up to it?
I actually think that Mike does a little bit differently than what I've seen in the past. And I'm not saying that the other coaches didn't do the same thing. The one thing that I've seen about Mike is that they're going to really take it one game at a time. They're not going to look ahead. They are going to make sure that you know exactly what the other team's going to do, and it's going to be an interesting scenario for the players because they're going to practice. It's not going to be, 45 minutes of practice time and then 2 or 3 minutes of shooting around and then going back to the hotel. They work at it, and there's no question they are prepared in the sense of they're going to know what Kent State's going to do, and there's no doubt in my mind that they have had all of the preparation that they need to get ready for this basketball game in that sense.
It's the great Don Fischer. He's with us here live from Albany, not a place that anyone should go to anytime soon, it sounds like. And Don is with us as Indiana gets ready, about 13 hours and change away from tip-off tonight. Don, did you have any, memorable or maybe unmemorable interactions with Rob Senderoff in his brief time in Bloomington?
I actually got along with Rob. I rode the bus a few times with him, going to a ballpark or coming back from a practice session, that kind of thing. I like Rob. I think he's a good guy. What they did back in the day, I'm not going to speak to, other than the fact that they did a couple of things that weren't necessarily copacetic with the NCAA. I really like him, and I think he's a good coach. He's been the head coach of this program after being an assistant for, I think, maybe almost 7 to 10 years, someplace in that neighborhood. He's been the head coach here. This is his 12th season, and they've never had a losing year since he's been the head coach. He's had a lot of 20-win seasons. They've been very tough in the MAC. It's a really good program, and you don't do that unless you've got a good coach and a guy who knows what he's doing.
Don, this Indiana team, you've called some games with Kent State over the years in the tournament, obviously getting bounced in the first round by Kent State, coming back the next year, beating them in an unbelievable regional final where they're still, like Jared Odell just hit another 3, right, in that game.
Yeah, exactly. And Dane Fife.
Yeah, and all those guys, man, it was unbelievable, that barrage. But the NCAA tournament, to me, is in fact so magical because oftentimes teams that get hot or make a run, it's a guy that over the course of the year maybe wasn't an integral player, and that's the key factor, if you will. If Indiana's going to make a deep run, Trayce Jackson-Davis is a phenomenal talent. Jalen Hood-Schifino, as we saw in Mackey, can carry a team with his mid-range game going. But if Indiana's going to make a deep run in the tournament, if you had to pick one player to be kind of their X factor, who is the most critical that needs to be clicking on all cylinders?
Well, I just don't know because, honestly, we haven't had anybody that stepped up on a consistent basis like that all year long. The guy that's been hot here of late has been Tamar Bates. He's come off the bench. He's given Indiana some really good performances here in the later stages of the season. He had 14 points in the game against Maryland, which was a big boost to this ball club, no question about that. I still think, and I know that Trey Galloway and Miller Kopp are two other guys that I think are really good players and have a chance to do the kinds of things you're talking about. But they just haven't had any consistency. I don't know who to pick in that regard other than maybe Bates, who's had the hot hand here of late. And Malik Renew's another guy that's been really good a lot of the time throughout the last 10 games of the season in the sense of coming off the bench and giving them something. But nobody has seemed to do it consistently well. And that's what's a little concerning at this point in the year when you're really counting on guys to be factors for your basketball team and to be consistent in that regard. And I can't say that we've had a guy that's been that way at this juncture.
He's the Hall of Famer. He's Don Fischer. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline again tonight. It's IU and Kent State, approximately, which I'm sure Don loves that. 9:55, the tip from Albany. Are you a napper? Not to get too personal, but will you nap today, Don? Because I'm afraid 9:55 means like 10:20.
You're not the only one that feels that way, and I'm not a napper, so that gets me real irritated.
Don, you could probably schedule another factory tour from 9:40 to 10 if you'd like.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could probably get the entire town surveyed before we go.
That window shattered in 1974. We're going to replace it here coming up. Don, when you look specifically at Kent State, I've talked about it all week long. I think there are some reasons to have some legit concern. I get they're not the tallest, they're not the deepest, they're not the greatest shooting team, but a couple words you hear from people that have seen them play, they're confident and they're relentless. What have you observed from your background on Kent State?
The one thing that I'm concerned about is their toughness factor. These guys, they go out there and they play hard. They will get after you in every way, shape, and form. Senderoff has them playing as hard as anybody in the country. They are going to be a tough matchup, and they're not as big as Indiana. Their big guy inside, Claron Hornbeek, 6'9", he's 224, a sophomore. He doesn't get that many minutes because they go smaller what they have to, especially in the sense of getting guys that can score the basketball. And they've got a couple coming off the bench who can do that pretty consistently. Chris Payton being one, he's 6'7", and Jalen Sullinger, a 5'10" guard, is tough as well. They're going to be a real matchup issue in the sense of going smaller for this Indiana basketball team. And we've seen the problems that Indiana has when somebody comes out and just absolutely says, we're going to come after you big time, and you're not going to be able to do exactly what you want to do. And I think that's the kind of team that Indiana's going to face here. They're going to try and take away Trayce with the dig down type of double teams and that kind of stuff that a lot of other ball clubs have had success with. They've seen the recipe. If you're going to beat Indiana, what you have to do. And my concern is that Indiana matches their intensity from the very beginning of the tip-off, because that's the one thing we've seen where Indiana's been vulnerable. If they get off to a really bad start or get behind by 10, 12 points in the first half, it is hard to come back. And at this level, when you're playing another team that's motivated and you give them a little confidence, next thing you know, you're in real trouble. So I'm hoping Indiana comes out with fire in their eyes and gets the job done here in this first matchup.
Don, I was talking with Don Fischer's our guest on the Payless Liquors hotline. He is in Albany where the Hoosiers are going to be playing tonight against Kent State in the NCAA Tournament. J&V and I were talking the other day off the air about, just legacies of players and Trayce Jackson-Davis. And I don't know that we knew the answer to this either way, nor will any of us probably for a number of years, but John was asking me if I thought that Trayce Jackson-Davis would need a deep run in the tournament to kind of cement his legacy with Indiana fans, or if that would be part of his legacy was that they never made a deep run with him. It seems to me that he is, and you know him, I don't, but Trayce Jackson-Davis to me, let me give you my observation, is as versatilely skill-setted a player as Indiana's had, maybe not necessarily in his offensive game, but you get what I'm saying there, and also as nice a young guy as they've had to represent the university any way that you'd like over the course of 4 years as a player. And in that, I think it would be great if they make a run, but it's not critical towards his long-term legacy. What say you?
No, I don't think it's critical. I really don't. I think this kid has done everything that he was expected to do throughout his career at Indiana. He had to grow like every kid does when you're coming into college basketball from a high school career that had him as a star as well. He has grown into that position. He's become a leader, which I think the first couple of years he lacked a little bit of leadership skill, that kind of thing. But he's understood that he had to learn that, and he was probably going to be that guy at some point. And he's become a terrific leader for this basketball team. And the things that he did last year about, after last season, because they had a few problems during the year and talked about at the end of the season and said, this has got to stop and we're going to be a different ball club this year. Those things to me are critical things that you have to have your best guy on the basketball floor be able to do and say, and he did that. To me, Trayce Jackson-Davis will be an all-time favorite for Indiana basketball because he's not only a guy that did the stuff on the court that he's done, but he's also been a guy who did the stuff off the court that you have to have. I don't want to say that he's the Joe Hillman or the Quinn Buckner of the current era, but he's in that ballpark. Those guys were always what we considered to be some of the best leaders Indiana ever had as college basketball players. And I think Trayce Jackson-Davis is another one you can put in that model.
And Don, and somebody else pointed this out to me, but I thought it was a really good point. In the Purdue game, I think it was that, Trayce Jackson-Davis and Mackey, it was taking him a while to get going. And Mike Woodson apparently, I think Woodson's the one that mentioned it, that he had drawn up some plays to kind of jumpstart Trayce Jackson-Davis, and Trayce Jackson-Davis spoke up and said, wait a minute, like Jalen Hood-Schifino is lights out right now. Like, we got to keep feeding that. We got to go there. To me, that is a perfect example of on-court leadership, because there are a lot of guys down in that situation who'd be like, yeah, get me going here, right? But to have the maturity and the comfort to be able to know what best was for the team in that moment, to me, I don't know that all guys that are leading scorers on a team would be that guy.
I agree with that. And I thought that Purdue game at West Lafayette was the perfect example of the kind of leader this guy is, because when he wasn't having his best game and he wasn't the key guy, he was talking in huddles. I saw him. I mean, we were sitting right there, right next to the bench, watching what he was doing in that situation, and he was handling it perfectly. I mean, he literally was clapping for guys, telling coach what he thought he needed to do, what he needed to do to get the other guys involved or stay involved. It was just really impressive. And he's, as you said, he's one of the nicest kids you'll ever be proud of. He's not a kid anymore. He's a young man. But he was terrific in that mode, and I think it was a great example of exactly the kind of person that Trayce Jackson-Davis is. He cares about this team winning, and that's what you want to have in your best player or your leader.
13 hours and 40 minutes until tip-off. Don Fischer, to pass the time, I think don't you have a Hudson River boat tour coming up with Larry Rink and Tim Garl? Isn't that why we need to let you go here? I think there's some other factories to see.
I'm going to go find somebody that can give me an Ambien.
Don, you're only an hour and a half from Cooperstown. Have you ever been to the Baseball Hall of Fame? Because I hear that's unbelievable.
Is that all we are?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I just looked it up. Cooperstown, New York to Albany, New York, 76 miles, 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Call the Uber, Don.
Hey, I might do that.
I'm serious, seriously. Don. I've heard it is fantastic. I mean, I've heard it's fabulous.
Well, I will check to see if we've got an Uber or a car that I can borrow, and we may do that. I didn't even think about it.
He'd rather be in New Albany than Albany, but tonight he will be on the call, of course. Again, 9:55 is the approximate tip time for the Hoosiers. You can hear it right here on WIBC downstairs on floor 4. Don, thank you very much. Have a great call tonight. Appreciate all the combos throughout the year.
Sorry, I blew you off yesterday, boys. Thank you.
All good. Yeah. That is the great Don Fischer right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. I do think something you can point to for Indiana, which certainly I don't think Kent State can match. And I don't know how many teams can match in the tournament. Jake, when you think about like the end-of-game situations this year, a guy who's just been great for Indiana is Jalen Hood-Schifino. Like those moments he wants the ball.
In his greatness, he's great, right?
He hits the 3 late in that Michigan game to kind of stave off what could have been, a bad loss kind of late in the year. He has had some big-time moments late in games, and if there is game pressure on Indiana late, at times it can be hard to find your big guy. We'll see if Hood-Schifino can deliver.
Now, allow me to ask this. Is this the greatest combo of teammates with hyphenated names in basketball history?
Jackson-Davis and Hood-Schifino?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of hyphenation and 3 names, we're going to have Coach Jim Bob Cooter on the show next week.
Did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar have a teammate with a hyphenated name? Were there other Lakers with hyphenated names? I don't think
that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah. I would say if there was, they would get the slight uptick. Nothing against the duo of Trayce Jackson-Davis.
It could be Kevin Bowen Dykton and that paired with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Just throw the hyphen in there just so they can be
When is Jim Bob Cooter going to join us?
He's going to join us Wednesday.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Wednesday we'll talk with Jim Bob.
Can I ask him if we can just call him JB?
Sure.
Is that offensive?
We went.
His name is Jim Bob.
We had a press conference with him, Brian Mason, the new special teams coordinator, who is a 2005 grad of Zionsville High School, which is kind of cool. We had a press conference with them on Wednesday, and Jim Bob seemed to be the popular phrase used to identify him.
Should I offer a bump music suggestion for Sam Fritz during that interview?
Sure.
I've got one in mind. Okay.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead.
No.
Preview it.
No.
Well, you're not going to be here.
I know. I'll listen on the podcast.
That's the ultimate tease in the history of the show.
No.
Mark just teased something for 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday.
Wait a minute.
You think people are putting that down in their calendar right now?
Where are you going next week, Mark?
Florida.
How much vacation do you get, by the way?
Not enough.
Can I talk to your agent?
Sure.
So you're going to Florida.
Uh-huh.
Now, will you be streaming, or you're driving, right?
Yeah.
So you, the wife, and then the three girls in the back,
Mhm.
right?
Will you be streaming the show?
Will you be streaming while you're in the car?
I'll download the podcast. I'll listen to you.
Are you
guys.
driving today? Or
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Friday. As soon as our oldest gets out of the last day of kindergarten before 2 weeks of spring break today, we are hitting the
You
road.
don't just call them in?
What? Call them in?
Yeah.
I call them off?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't call in and say, well, she's got a tummy ache.
No.
And hit the road early.
No.
Come on. You're not doing this like a true Hoosier.
I think I am. I'm going to be.
Friday of starting spring break is a half day, bud.
I know, but it's also the night of St. Patrick's Day, so I think the later we get out.
Yes, I'm well aware. Yes.
It does seem
I'm
like
gonna really miss that for next week.
the rain I did see is supposed to taper off a bit here in the morning, which is good news, but it's definitely going to get colder
The rain
as the day moves along. What was a cooler upset for you guys, Princeton or Furman?
Furman.
Because of the climatic steal 3?
I think Princeton, because I think most people thought Arizona would go further.
Yeah, you could go one of two ways. The better in-game moment was Furman. The
bigger ramification is
shocking
probably Arizona, right?
Was Princeton. I don't think Arizona scored in the final 4 minutes of that game. We said this to lead off the show. Like, that end-of-game sequence, Furman and Virginia, is why the tournament is unlike anything else. Again, Purdue fans, it's salt and wounds, but they watched Kihei Clark, the Virginia guard who's been there forever, played in 160 college games. They watched him make one of the smartest, most cool, calm, collected, poised plays in tournament history and throwing the ball up to Diakite, who hit the shot to send that Purdue-Virginia game into overtime back in the Elite Eight. Yesterday, Kihei Clark, in the final game of his college career, makes one of the dumbest passes you will see. And Furman gets the ball to J.P. Pigas. And Jake, that dude had missed 15 straight three-pointers.
He squared up, didn't he?
And he looked like Reggie Miller with confidence, and he drilled it for the win. Like that just sums up why we love the tournament. And you tweeted out yesterday, the enrollment of Furman. Virginia, of course, winning the national title just a few years ago. It's wild to think Virginia hasn't won a tournament game since they won it all.
Isn't that, 2,300 kids go to Furman. How many go to, now it's hard to say with Farleigh Dickinson because as we saw, they have 16 campuses. So I don't know.
And it's right outside of New York City. So I'm venturing to guess there's probably a decent amount of people that go there.
Depending on like the commuter, is it a commuter school, Farleigh Dickinson?
I don't know if it's that close.
The enrollment is listed as, now hang on just a second. Here we go. This is according to Wikipedia, which is all-knowing as we know. It has the enrollment as, does it not list the enrollment here? This is ridiculous. 12,000. Okay, that's more than I would have guessed.
But no one's over 6'6" in that 12,000. No one.
That's right.
Like, wouldn't you just throw the 6'8" kid just on the team just to kind of get the average height a little bit higher?
They're all shorter in stature, their basketball team. And they're known as, I believe we mentioned, they're the Knights, but they also have Division II teams, and they go by the Devils. But because of the height of the team, you know what they almost called them? You know this, right?
Time for a morning check down.
The Leprechauns. Let's go Farleigh Dickinson. That's St. Patrick's Day. Have yourself a Guinness.
Rob Blackman in 5 minutes. Time for a morning check down.
The Morning Checkdown on on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
What if I did the entire Checkdown as a leprechaun?
Those PBRs from last Friday sound really good.
I might make a run during the break.
Last night there was the luck of the Irish.
There's got to be a liquor store open at this
George
hour.
Hill.
The best win of the season
points.
last night for the Pacers. They were in Milwaukee. They hit 22 threes. No Tyrese Haliburton, yet they beat the Bucks 139-123. That was a Bucks team that had Giannis, although he's battling foul trouble, but still. Chris Middleton, Andrew Holiday. It was an incredible second half. 8 guys in double figures for the Pacers. Andrew Nembhard led all Pacer scores with 24 points. Jake, we should note, though, Tyrese Haliburton injured his ankle in Wednesday's practice. Rick Carlisle said before the game last night, definitely out for the Milwaukee game and Saturday and Monday. After that, I think there's like 10 to go or 9 to go. So he was pretty adamant, like, I have no timetable. He's definitely going to be out for at least 3 games. Boy, him and Mathurin, do we see them again this year? Should we see them again
tonight?
this year?
I'll be seeing the Celtics playing the Utah Jazz.
Okay. What's that, Mark?
If you're going to do it.
Do what?
If you're going to do your impression, at least do it behind that.
That's some beautiful music.
It is nice. What's that?
Now you're not going to do it?
Are there Irish dancers right now? Has the parade started downtown?
Michael Flatley going to town right now.
Whatever happened to that Michael Flatley?
I think he died.
He was on. What?
I think he's dead.
Oh, Michael Flatley did not die. Did he really?
I think so.
There's no way. How many?
Well, he might still be alive. I thought something happened. He was notably in there in the news lately, and I'm like, well, why would he be up there?
Mark walking back his death accusations.
He had like a 2-year span there where he was this huge star. I think we would have known if he would have passed away, right?
He had a health issue. I guess that's what it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Purdue and Farleigh Dickinson tonight, 6:50. Purdue favored by 22.5. Are we covering? Are we taking that?
Yeah, I think Purdue covers that. You know what? Who knows, though? That's the thing about these teams. I mean, you get senior-laden
You're
teams that are
waffling like
poised.
Marc is on Michael Flatley's health.
I believe Waterfall's a Belgian.
Do it now.
Not the Irish.
Go! Come on! I'm setting you up.
I believe the Purdue will win.
Fold under pressure.
Purdue by 23.
IU favored by 4.5. Mark, cue up the Mike Woodson Tone Loc audio. Here was Mike Woodson yesterday on.
It's about as anti-leprechaun sounding as you can get, I think, right? Like
coming up.
His voice is very baritone.
On Friday's tip with Kent State.
Stop. Well, again, it's Curry, it's Jacobs, it's Thomas. I mean, they got weapons all over the court. You know, we just got to be solid in what we do. Curry is kind of the guy that drives this team, and he does a lot of good things offensively in terms of getting the ball where it's got to go, and he can score the basketball. So I don't think, you go into this game saying, hey, you just going to stop. I mean, they got some pieces that everybody's got to be aware of, key matchups all over the floor that we got to commit for 40 minutes to defend. And then we got to make them play us.
He only has to say 4 words before they step on the court tonight.
That dude
kick some ass.
That's all you got to say.
Is chill, man. That's what I like about him.
Sincere
chill.
Carey, who Woodson was talking about, averaging 17 points per game. Remember Jared Sullinger for Ohio State?
You know Sincere's last name, right?
Sincere Carey.
In my opinion, that sucked.
Jared Sullinger's cousin on the team, one of the best shooters for Kent State. So, again, that is approximately 9:55. The game to watch to see when Indiana will tip off. It'll be Miami-Drake before that. And so that will be the game if it bleeds into a little bit later into Friday night. Then Indiana-Kent State could be pushed past 10 o'clock. IU women, they're going to tip tomorrow from Assembly Hall. That is 11:30 for them as they get their NCAA tournament run started. And if you're looking for tip times for Sunday, basically it's going to boil down like this. IU and Purdue, if they advance, they could play at 12 or 2:30. But then after that, pretty much every game tips from 5 o'clock or later. Like, you're going to have a tip time at 9:30 on Sunday. So only 2 in the kind of afternoon window, and then the other 6 games on Sunday would be 5 o'clock and after. So if you're looking ahead a little bit to the Sunday plans, those will be announced late tonight, probably right as the Indiana game is ending.
Now, somebody says that my leprechaun sounds like he's from Tijuana. I think that's the case, doesn't it?
That one doesn't really sound like
I don't know what that is.
Leprechaun. Yeah, I'm not sure what that
Like
is.
he needs a jacket or something? He's cold?
Yeah.
No, leprechauns. There's yes,
Don Fischer's fandom of Albany was not very high. We'll see what Rob Blackman thinks of Columbus next.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our home has had Rhino Shield for 10 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
It's JMV, and this week it's 25% off all houseplants and houseplant accessories at Sundown Gardens in Westfield, 186th and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit? Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network. Go on. Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
And the starting lineup for the Wildcats of Lawrence North. At guard, a 6'1" senior, number 10, Brandon McPherson. At guard, a 6'1" junior, number 11, Mike Conley.
Mike Conley scores his first 2 points. He's a young man that is as good a guard as there is in the state, maybe in the country at the high school level. He's just a junior, and sometimes he gets lost.
Well, I think he runs the show a lot, directs traffic a lot, makes other people better, and doesn't emphasize his own ability to score. But I agree with that last statement you made. He is one of the better point guards in the state of Indiana.
Chris Teneri and Dave Nicholson on the call there. The 2005 4A State Championship, Lawrence North and Muncie Central, 63-52 LN. Mike Conley, Greg Oden, the second of 3 straight 4A State Championships. And interesting because Teneri would later, of course, call games with both of those guys in the NBA. Mike Conley still is, after they both had played at Ohio State, went to the Final Four. Fantastic careers, and the reality is that you had a chance to see them play back then, Kevin, for a lot less money than what it would cost to go see Mike Conley play today.
Yeah, beautiful part about semi-state is, again, Indiana Purdue, they're going to play tonight. They're not going to play again until Sunday if they both win. So tomorrow, it can be all about high school basketball for you. Semi-states around the state of Indiana. 2 games you'll get in the morning and then 1 at night. So in past years, that's kind of been the regional format. Well, now it's the semi-state format. So I think like 10 a.m., 12, and then the semi-state championship game at 8 o'clock to send those respective teams to Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Head to IHSA.org for games, schedules, and locations. Don't miss it. Nothing compares to attending an IHSA basketball tournament game in person.
It has no beginning.
The start of something special right here, man. Let's go.
And no end.
Look, you got to get your team ready to play.
It is a constant.
Get a rhythm going.
Through every season.
Come back again.
It is always Colts season. Firing, hiring, free agency, the combine, the schedule, the draft, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, kickoff. The off-season questions is a season to be answered for this Colts team. The best Colts coverage is on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I told the leprechaun he's got to go away now. I made it first half of the show. Leprechaun was here, St. Patrick's Day, but I've matured, and I've decided that the remaining 87 minutes of the program, leprechaun free.
I like that leprechaun sketch.
I don't think that's going to stick.
I like that leprechaun sketch picture. The video when they spotted a leprechaun down in Alabama.
That's an all-timer right there.
Yeah, I like that sketch. Yeah, kind of looks like some of my artwork from back in the day. Speaking of art, we'll see how beautiful it looks for Purdue, not only tonight, but through the rest of the tournament. The voice of the Boilers, Rob Blackman, joins us from Columbus. Rob, did you take in what sounded like a pretty entertaining, at least end to the women's game last night as Purdue was trying to advance in the out of the play-in tournament?
I did, and man, I felt terrible for our women's team because of the way obviously that game went down, and they were so close to winning. But what a great job Katie Geralds has done at Purdue and gotten Purdue women's basketball back on the map. And I know an 11 seed is not ultimately her goal. Her goal would be to put Purdue back in the position where Indiana is right now in women's basketball, where you're at a nationally prominent team, which Purdue was at one time. So, but yes, what a unique situation to have the Purdue women's team right here in Columbus, staying at the hotel literally right across the street from where the men's team is. So I did get a chance to take that in. I wanted to mention one thing, guys. I was listening to you as you're coming out of commercial break talking about Mike Conley. We've been using the Ohio State practice facility for our practices here in Columbus, and I think a lot of Indianapolis folks would be interested to know that the weight room at Ohio State for men's basketball and women's basketball is the Mike Conley weight room, which obviously leads me to believe he's the guy that fronted the money for that. So that's pretty cool that he would have the financial resources and also give back to help out Ohio State. So that's a pretty cool deal here in Columbus.
I'll never forget our high school basketball coach, Scott Hicks, when I was in high school, saying that he voted for Mike Conley for Mr. Basketball over Greg Oden. He thought like Conley.
I think there are
a
lot of people that thought he was the better of the two players.
That just made everything go.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
You try to press Lawrence North and you couldn't because Conley would just single-handedly break the press. Not to turn this into a Mike Conley segment, but yeah, that'd be just an incredible talent that I don't think nationally, growing up, high school, college-wise, I think eventually he got credit for how good of a player he was, but I don't think a lot of people gave him that individual credit that he deserved.
Well, and I'll add this. When I was a kid, I followed two college basketball teams very closely, Purdue and Notre Dame. And those Scott Hicks and Kenny Barlow teams at Notre Dame, man, as a kid, I freaking love those teams. Those are like my favorite teams of all time. So anytime you work in a Scott Hicks reference, I think that's pretty cool too.
Great dude.
Hey, Rob, let's talk about the matchup for Purdue. And I'm going to begin it by asking you the same question that I asked Don Fischer about Indiana. And that is that when you watch Purdue getting ready for a tournament, you've seen them in a couple of tournaments now, do you feel like in this opening round matchup with Farleigh Dickinson, does Purdue make some tweaks or changes to their style based on what they might have scouted, or is it more so we're a number one seed for a reason, we're going to do what we do and come and get us?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. When you won 29 games, when you've had the success that Purdue has had, obviously what you're doing is working, so why would you change it? And what Purdue has done well all season is made sure that Zach Edey has been the focal point of the offense. Now, the one thing we haven't seen this year, and hopefully as a Purdue fan we do not see it in the NCAA tournament, but we really haven't seen Zach Edey in foul trouble where Purdue's had to play extended minutes without him on the floor. That's the one scenario that, quite frankly, has never really popped up this season. Now, he did miss one game against New Orleans back in December. That was a home game. Because he was sick, so he missed the whole game, and Trey Kaufman-Renn had to play. But, no offense to New Orleans, but that's New Orleans. That's not like what you're about to do here in NCAA tournament play. But to answer your question directly, Jake, absolutely. You're not going to start trying to change things here. Certainly tweaking or even changing things drastically this deep into the season. I do think there is more of an emphasis right now at this time of the season of taking care of the ball against full court pressure. Purdue has had a couple of hiccups against that here in the last couple of weeks, and Purdue knows they're going to see that tonight. They're going to see a ton of full court pressure because that's how Farleigh Dickinson likes to play. So there's been a bit more of an emphasis on how to handle the full court press. But as far as, major tweaks or certainly any type of major renovations you'd like to do to this team this late in the season, there's no sense in doing that because obviously what you've done this year has worked and it's put you in a position to have a number one seed.
He's the voice of the Boilermakers. He's Rob Blackman. He's with us live from Columbus. Again, Purdue and Farleigh Dickinson, I think, should start on time. I know NCAA tournament times can be a bit odd, but they are the first game of the evening session, so they should start at 6:50. You bring up the press. I think an advantage Purdue could have tonight, which is rather obvious with the press, though. Rob, Farleigh Dickinson is small. And, if you get in trouble, just throwing it up to Zach Edey or Caleb First, that can be, I think, a huge part of just kind of steadying things from a press standpoint. What keys has Matt Painter kind of stressed in, whether it's getting the ball to Braden Smith more, having, just Ethan Morton and Newman and Lawyer, just those guys bring it up? What have been the keys press-wise?
Well, the biggest key yesterday, the biggest emphasis, I guess I should say, in practice was keeping the ball in the middle of the floor as you're bringing the ball up the floor. Purdue at times has been very good at that. At other times, for some reason, they lost their minds a little bit and decided to try to bring the ball up the sideline, which has been the perfect area for teams to trap, and that's exactly what Farleigh Dickinson is trying to do. So keeping the ball in the middle of the floor as you bring it up. But I think you have a great point, Kevin, in that, yes, this is a team that likes to press. Yes, they're all about the full court pressure, but they're not very tall. In the backcourt, they're 5'9" and 5'8". They're the smallest team in NCAA basketball. Their average height across the board is 6'1". So it's a little bit easier. Well, at least I say that. Maybe the players wouldn't agree, but I would think it's a little bit easier to throw over the top of a guy who's trying to press you at 5'9", as opposed to trying to throw over the top of a guy like Caleb McConnell at Rutgers, who's 6'7" and long, or some of those Illinois guys that were like a Coleman Hawkins, who, when they put him on the front of that press at 6'10", was nearly impossible to throw over the top of. So, yes, I do think there is an added advantage there of trying to throw over the top of that defense today. But again, there's going to be the way Farleigh Dickinson likes to play defensively is it's full court press all the time, and then they're going to trap you in the half court as well. If they get a chance in the half court, they will trap, they will run and jump. They're doing everything in their power to try to speed the game up. So big key for Purdue tonight is to try to slow the game down and get the ball in the hands of Zach Edey, because once that ball goes inside, I have a hard time believing Farleigh Dickinson is going to have an answer for big Zach.
Have you heard any coaches or players talk about Farleigh Dickinson's coach and what he said post-game the other night?
I've heard some of our players talk about it, just kind of eavesdropping on them, sitting on the bus and stuff, going to practice and those kind of things. So I know they're aware of it. I have not heard our coaches directly talk about it directly or make it a big deal with our team, but I do know that our players are very much aware of it. Yes, I do know that much.
Rob, I'm curious about this. Rob Blackman's our guest. He's on the Payless Liquors Hotline. He is in Columbus with the Boilermakers, who will be taking on Farleigh Dickinson this evening. And I know that you can't overlook teams in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's just a rule. I get it. But there's also a quick turnaround should you be fortunate enough to win at any round. So because you are somebody that's around the team, I thought maybe you could give a glimpse for listeners as to how it works. Purdue's second round, should they get past Farleigh Dickinson, would be the winner of Memphis and Florida Atlantic. Both teams offer challenges, I think. Does Matt Painter's group, like at the end of practice, say spend 10 minutes each on just an introduction to everybody on what they could see from either club should they win, just to get them kind of briefed on that so that it's not just absolutely diving in and cramming at the last minute? Or do those two teams not even get mentioned until after this game?
Yeah, not even mentioned. That's the way Coach Painter does it, and I've been with him 18 years, so I have a pretty good feel for how this works. They have not been mentioned, Memphis and Florida Atlantic, and they will not be mentioned, whether it be practice, film, whatever it is. The focus is solely on Farleigh Dickinson from a player standpoint. Now, very similar to the regular season, the coaches, and that includes the grad assistants, they've already begun their advanced scouting on a potential next opponent, that's not uncommon. You do that in the regular season too. Once you have your scouting report in for your next opponent, you move on to the following opponent, who's ever next on the schedule, and start putting together that scouting report. So the base work has already been done for both Memphis and Florida Atlantic, because that's the normal routine. But as far as addressing those things with the players or talking about those things, no, those two teams have not been talked about, and nor will they be mentioned until I guess probably about 11 o'clock tonight or so if Purdue wins, and then you see who Memphis and Florida Atlantic, who wins that game, which is the second game right after the Purdue game tonight.
Robbie, I don't need to remind Arizona and Virginia fans this. The reality is you can go home now at any point. So I asked this question just looking ahead a bit, and I apologize if if maybe I'm thinking too much about next year. But has Zach Edey been asked, or do you have any inkling whatsoever on him and potentially entering the NBA draft?
I do not have an inkling. I do know he was asked, I think it was last week at the Big Ten tournament, might have been the week before, which ironically I thought was interesting. It was the first time I'd heard anyone ask him about it from the media standpoint.
I was going to say, I feel like I haven't heard anybody ask him.
Yeah, you would have thought that question would have been asked 100 times by now, if not 1,000 times. But that's the only time I've heard it brought up, at least in any type of a public forum. And all I know is he said, I haven't even thought about that right now, which we'll take him at his word. But I think I don't care who you are, if you have his skill level, you have thought about it. Now, you might not tell anyone that, but that's certainly the thought has crossed your mind about what your decision is going to be for next year. So we'll see. I think, I don't know. While I've never asked him specifically about this, my gut feeling has always told me, at least for the Purdue guys that we've had that have, been drafted here in the last few years, it always feels to me like if they know they're a guaranteed first rounder, the odds are very much that they're headed to the NBA. But if they are not a guaranteed first rounder, normally those guys come back. They test those NBA waters. I know Travion Williams did it, I think, twice and kept coming back both times. So for guys in recent memory, Biggie Swanigan, God rest his soul, I know he tested the NBA waters and then decided to come back for one extra year. So that would be my gut. Again, I haven't asked him, but my gut tells me if someone says, yes, we're definitely taking you in the first round, I could see Zach Edey leaving. But if there's no guarantees that that's going to happen, I would not be surprised if Zach plays again for Purdue next year.
I thought I read somewhere that, like, for international students, it's, like, harder from an NIL standpoint. I don't know if there's any validity to that, but, like, that's been something that maybe, I don't know, Edey can't tap into as much as you would think. I'm seeing those those, like, hockey jerseys, and I thought that had something to do with him. But do you know anybody or anything on that front, like, from an international student standpoint, based off a visa, like, it's harder to do NIL things?
Yeah, I do not know that, and that's a very good thought and question by you, Kevin. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer, and I had not seen that article or what you're referencing. So maybe there is something to that I'm not aware of. But yeah, I don't know about that.
Rob, give us an idea what the day looks like for the Purdue basketball team. I mean, it's a tournament game. Obviously, they're not in class today. They're in Columbus, Ohio. They wake up. They're early morning game. There's early afternoon games, etc. And then Purdue tipping off right around the dinner hour. So what does the day look like?
Funny you would ask, because I have the itinerary laying right here in front of me.
Oh, perfect.
Yes. So breakfast here, team breakfast at 9 a.m. At 9:45 on the bus, head over to Ohio State. We're going to use their practice facility from 10 to 11:30. Come back here, lunch at noon, and then off your feet / take a nap or watch basketball or whatever it is you do. Until 2:45, and then there'll be a pregame meal at 2:45, and they'll roll to the arena at 4:45. Which the beauty of the arena, the hotel is literally right beside the arena. We could walk there in 5 minutes, but yeah, that is what the itinerary looks like for today.
You think it's all green food at breakfast?
It was when I was in college.
Listen, right? I've been doing this. And I know you're making a St. Patrick's Day reference. I've been doing this for 18 years. I've eaten the same frickin' breakfast with this team for 18 straight years. So I can tell you exactly what it is. Sausage and bacon, pancakes, scrambled eggs, some type of fruit, hash browns, and oatmeal. And that is the same breakfast I have ate for 18 straight seasons, that I've eaten for 18 straight seasons.
Jake, a little different than the breakfast Marc and I had last Friday.
That's right. Your Long's Donuts and PBR, right?
Slightly different. Although Long's Donuts and PBR, I think a few people might be having that to start this Friday here in Indianapolis. Rob, we obviously hope the stay in Columbus is through Sunday, and we hope the next destination for you is the world's famous arena, and that would be Madison Square Garden for the Sweet 16 in the Elite Eight. Have a great call tonight, and thank you for the time.
Oh, all right, guys. Thanks.
Rob Blackman, right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Greg Rakestraw going to join us in about 10. We come back. We'll get back into the Colts conversation. Rick Venturi has some thoughts on the Colts and some of their moves. I'll share those coming up next.
For
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter, boom, boom, boom.
Finished our taxes. We're going to get some major bucks back.
Great, just in time to get the car ready for spring break.
Yep, perfect timing. It's not handling right.
Get it to CarX. We can fix it now and then pay off the credit card when the refund comes in.
Brilliant. I knew there was a reason I married you.
CarX is the best in auto repair. They guarantee every part and every repair. Plus, they guarantee the best price in town. So when you need brakes, service, or tires,
don't worry, call the CarX man.
Hello there, it's Terry Stacy with your American Standard Race Day weather, brought to you by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling in Danville. NASCAR heads east this week when they race at Atlanta Sunday at 3 p.m. The race day forecast is partly sunny and 49 degrees at the Green Flag in Atlanta Sunday afternoon. American Standard Race Day weather has been brought to you by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling in Danville, your trusted, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer serving Hendricks and surrounding counties.
Hey everyone, it's Jake from Payless Liquors. Join us on Saturday the 18th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at East Street to try our new Yellowstone and High West single barrels. If you're lucky, you might leave with a pot of bourbon. Charlie said sell it, so stock up for the tournament with these great prices. The new Sunny D Vodka Seltzer for $9.99, Busch Light and Rolling Rock 12-case bottles for $9.99, Proper 12 and Jameson 750s for $24.99, and Bushmills 750s for $23.99. Why pay more when you can pay less here at Payless Liquors?
Indianapolis, do you have old, ugly, or even damaged concrete? Not sure what to do about it, but you know you need to do something? Well, you need to call Galaxy Concrete Coatings. This product is out of this world, and it's right here in Indianapolis. And just in time to give your concrete floors a transflormation. Galaxy Concrete Coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy. It's designed to not only work on your garage floor, but you can use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio, commercial or residential. And it's UV resistant, which means it will not yellow. And even better, it can be ready to go in about 24 hours. Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com or call 317-751-9070. Indy, you're ready for a transflormation. Call Galaxy Concrete Coatings today, 317-751-9070. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They are out of this world.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Helzberg Diamonds presents The Guy Who Did His Homework. When it came to Jill's engagement ring, Brady knew exactly what to get.
Okay, so I came up with a design and showed it to all of our friends.
She'll love it.
Then he went to Helzberg. Their incredible selection of high-quality, lab-grown, and natural diamonds made creating that special ring easy. Her reaction?
I love it. Can't wait to tell everybody.
Everybody might know about it.
Be like Brady. Create the ring of your dreams at a Helzberg near you or at Helzberg.com. Ask now about special financing offers.
The Pacers return home to face the Philadelphia 76ers tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jake, it's St. Patrick's Day, so it's only fitting. Who's your favorite Notre Dame basketball player of all time?
Oh, boy.
And if you want to talk about this for the rest of the show, I'll happily entertain.
My favorite Notre Dame, that would be like me asking you, so which is your favorite model of the Volvo?
Well, Notre Dame basketball's got a little bit more history than that. Got some good players.
David Rivers was a good player. Scotty Hicks is a nice guy, and Ken Barlow, I guess, is a nice guy, but I don't remember a lot of watching them play because I was such an Indiana fan.
Adrian Dantley, LaFonso Ellis.
LaFonso Ellis, that's a good one. LaFonso Ellis is a good one.
I've heard he's a great dude, LaFonso Ellis.
What's Bonzie Colson up to these days?
I told you, in utero. Rosie
How about Jason Williams?
Bonzie. Jason Williams?
Mm-hmm.
At Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
The mayor. Jason Williams, 1991, Pike.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, when I think Notre Dame and I think Pike, I think Chris Thomas. Gosh, he was so good. Knee injuries hurt him, though. This from Rick Venturi. I've always liked Gardner Minshew. Perfect and expensive scheme-ready, short bridge guy. Can give you the flexibility in your quarterback selection and some development there. He still thinks the Colts need to get to number 3 unless you're willing to live with Will Levis.
Telling you.
I am a big advocate to trade up to number 3.
Telling you. But here's the thing. That's if Arizona doesn't trade out, right?
And that's the worry, Jake. It's that if they trade out, a quarterback-needy team is jumping you, and now you don't, again, carry out the hypothetical. C.J. Stroud 1, Bryce Young 2. You don't get to choose between Richardson or Levis. Do you want to choose between the two, or do you not? That's the debate that you have.
I truly believe this. I truly believe that the Colts are going to stay at 4 because they like Will Levis. I really do believe that.
Some Colts fans are like, okay, that was all the reason I needed to start my St. Patrick's Day drinking earlier.
Well, one of the trade proposals
I don't disagree with you, Jim.
One of the trade proposals I saw for them moving up to 3 was giving them the 4th overall pick and then their second round pick. I'm like, that's a lot to give. Seems kind of rich.
Well, you're giving up a second round pick to move up a spot.
Yeah,
right?
but
it is rich. But Mark, what if that's the difference between that quarterback panning out and the other guy not panning out?
But I think that Will Levis and Anthony Richardson are equal roll of the dice, right?
That's kind of where I'm at.
All 4 of them are.
With as many holes as you have on this roster, I don't know.
You think all 4 are equal?
No, but I think all 4 have. I think the general rule of young quarterbacks in the National Football League is there's always the chance of uncertainty. Boy, I'm looking at kids right now downtown for the St. Patrick's Day parade. I feel bad for them.
Oh, it's awful. Mikey says his favorite Notre Dame basketball player is Doug Gottlieb. Doug was expelled for stealing his roommate's credit cards.
That's right. Doug Gottlieb, I remember when the Final Four was here.
He'd been a nice point guard for the Irish. John McLeod years, maybe?
What year was the Final Four here during the Kentucky?
Notre Dame should have made it. 2015 when Kentucky was undefeated.
That year at the Final Four, I remember Doug Gottlieb, and he wasn't the only one. This was a fad that, thank goodness, didn't stick around because I thought it looked ridiculous. Doug Gottlieb was a big fan of the suit and tie with high-top basketball shoes. That was like a big thing then. You know what I mean?
I feel like it. Isn't that kind of like what you see a lot of coaching staffs wear?
But I mean, no, I think you see like
like
people
the
call
IU
them
staff
sneakers,
wore that. Yeah,
like
sneakers.
athletic shoes, yeah. But I'm talking about like big, gaudy, like green and purple Reebok pump high tops with a navy blue pinstripe suit, and it's like, yeah, man, you look ridiculous. It's comfortable. Don't get me wrong, it's comfortable.
Ryan says Kyle McElharney. Gosh, what a great shooter. Expelled and then brought back to Notre Dame, by the way. McElharney. Hit 10 threes against North Carolina in the
My
Maui
favorite
tournament.
Irish basketball player was Noble Duke. That was Cathedral, granted, but Noble Duke, man, was like 5'6".
Rylan Hangey?
Rylan Hangey's a hell of a player, but I'm telling you, man, Noble Duke, that dude, Mason Gillis, his dad, Bill Gillis, was like just lean. I mean, Bill Gillis was 6'6", 6'7", absolutely shredded, tough, went to Ball State, and Noble Duke ran circles around him. And like he was literally like 5'9" center. Unbelievable.
9 o'clock hour coming up. Obviously, the pop quiz at 9:30. It's a freebie Friday, so Jiffy Lube oil change is going to be coming your way no matter what you do on the pop quiz. Greg Rakestraw, though, is next. Semi-state action, busy time around the state. Again, with IU Purdue playing Friday and potentially Sunday. Perfect time to watch a lot of high school hoopage. We'll talk about that with Rake next.
The state has no wallflowers in this year's dance.
It's the big dance.
Purdue.
Zach Edey for Purdue.
IU.
Trayce Jackson-Davis for IU. Anyone could win this year.
Purdue was number one for a while.
IU beat Purdue twice.
Check your dance card regularly.
You don't know what you're going to get. It does just matter who they're matched up against.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our Rhino Shield has been on for 8 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Doing more in the community means that I get out and I volunteer.
Hi, I'm Hannah Yeagerbush here at Teachers Treasures, and we nominated David Barabee because he's such a great volunteer leader. He does so much for us to make our mission possible to serve teachers in Marion County.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Jennifer Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are rewarding Hoosier volunteers who use their vehicle to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
My vehicle really allows me the ability to be where they need me, either downtown, at the store, or out on a route, or working for the mobile operation.
Each month, Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides a volunteer free vehicle maintenance for a year, whether it's someone who delivers smiles and supplies or drives somewhere to serve on site. Jiffy Lube supports local givers who count on their car to do more for Indy, and we love to hear their stories.
If you know a volunteer who impacts your community, nominate them today to receive a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance. Just click the Do More tab at jiffylubeindiana.com.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Divorce forces a father to focus on what's most important, his children. You may no longer be a husband, but you'll always be a dad. In the divorce process, this comes down to 3 key concerns: physical custody, decision-making, as well as financial support. Each of these is important, and it's important that you choose a lawyer that cares as much about these issues as you do. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Indianapolis area attorneys. 101 West Ohio Street, Suite 1250, Indianapolis, Indiana 46204.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
Sometimes I was so messed up and didn't have a clue. I ain't winning, no, I'm over. I'll wear it just for you. I got your name written here and a rose tattoo. And a rose.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
9 o'clock hour in Indianapolis. For that matter, it's the 9 o'clock hour everywhere in the Eastern time zone. My name is Jake Query. Kevin Bowen here as well, wearing a beautiful green rugby shirt from Ireland.
I thought you put the leprechaun away.
What's that?
I thought you put the leprechaun away.
No. That wasn't my leprechaun.
Well, it sounded. That was the best version you did all day so far.
Excuse me? That was good.
Oh,
God.
Every once in a while, I just can't hold it back.
58 minutes, Kev.
Greg Rakestraw is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Talk about a stop I'll be making here at about 10:03. Rake, obviously semi-state action tomorrow, and we'll get to that in just a second, but your knowledge is second to none. So when the NCAA tournament rolls around, I'm always curious, like random Indiana high school players on random NCAA tournament teams. Anybody I should be keeping my eye out for? Obviously, we saw, unfortunately, and it's not very random, but Armand Franklin lose last night. Tony Perkins lose last night. Anybody else I should be keeping my eye out for?
You got Nike Sabande at Pitt from Crispus Attucks that began his days at Miami of Ohio.
Okay.
Somebody compiled a list. I think there are 39 players from the state of Indiana that are playing this year in the NCAA tournament, and 7 head coaches from the state of Indiana, including one who obviously did very well last night in Micah Shrewsberry as Penn State walloped Texas A&M in the late game last night.
Can my Irish get Micah Shrewsberry? We need him to lose so he doesn't make more money.
I believe the person you're talking to suggested Micah Shrewsberry for the Notre Dame job.
Might have. Can you make that happen?
I still think that would be an upgrade from where he is at Penn State. I know it's not easy to win at Notre Dame, but I can tell you, since he just won the first NCAA tournament game at Penn State in 22 years, it's not easy to win there either. And I would think it would be easier to recruit, and you'd have more resources in South Bend than you would in State College, Pennsylvania. So I do think that's a possibility.
I love you, Rick.
Hey, Shrewsberry might be holding out for a bigger job than Notre Dame.
Honestly, he could be. I mean, let's face it. He is.
But right now, is there any other job that's bigger, that's open?
I get it.
I know this is just this high. Is Georgetown or Notre Dame a better job?
I think Notre Dame is a better job because of being in the ACC. I realize there's more competition, but you're still playing to a bigger national stage than the Big East. Big East is fifth or sixth best league in the country. ACC at worst is the second or third best league in the country.
And Greg, I don't disagree with you, but if this was high school debate class and I was assigned Georgetown, the recruiting base of being able to get kids out of the D.C. area, the Baltimore area,
the
Eastern
first-round
Seaboard,
picks from South Bend last year. 2 first-round picks from South Bend.
That would be the one advantage for Georgetown, right? Probably, maybe the only.
It's a fair point, but obviously during Mike Bray's era, that's where Notre Dame recruited a lot of kids because of the ties to the Matha Catholic High School. So it is frankly the same recruiting base. Georgetown has tapped into that in the past, but not on an all too regular basis these last few years.
Yeah, again, Blake Wesley, Jaden Ivey last year. Sounds like Mr. Basketball.
By the way,
Penn kid this
DeAndre
year.
Golston at Missouri. I don't know if you guys mentioned him.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of isn't there another Duncan kid at Vermont, Rake, from Evansville?
Well, there's been like 37 of them, so that would make sense. I'll be honest with you, like as I'm watching yesterday, like players I was looking for were guys that I saw play against IUPUI because of the transient nature of college basketball. So Janai Broom, that played for Auburn and played awfully well yesterday. He was at Morehead State the last couple of years, and IUPUI hosted them last year. And given the fact the Jaguars won 3 games and Janai just had a double-double with 5 blocks for Auburn in the NCAA tournament, you could probably figure out how that game went for IUPUI last year. And then Demoy Hodge is part of this influx of Cleveland State players that is at Missouri as they won yesterday because their head coach is Dennis Gates, who is at Cleveland State, who I knew from the first time I saw him coaching at CSU in January of 2020. I'm like, that guy's going to be successful, and that program is going to be good for as long as he is there. And they ended up winning the Horizon League and winning the tournament the following the COVID-shortened year in 2021. There are several Cleveland State guys that are at Missouri. Demoy Hodge had a great day yesterday. So as much as I'm looking for, hey, I saw this kid play Indiana high school basketball, I'm looking for guys even playing the Horizon League and played well. They're now playing awfully well on a national stage.
Kevin, did you mention Nigel Pack?
Yeah, Nigel Pack.
Basically the Kurt Flood of NIL.
I would say Nigel Pack, Miami, Jack Nungy at Xavier would probably be the 2 biggest names from the state still left.
And Kevin, the crazy thing is that, and this is the same thing when I mentioned Nike Sabande. In fact, Nike and Jack Nungy played in the same semi-state that I did on the radio for this very radio station 6 years ago, because dudes have now been in college for some time.
Yeah, Nungy was an Iowa transfer, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, unfortunately, Jack's story has some sadness to it. He transferred to Xavier to be closer to home because of a sudden death in the family, unfortunately.
And I think his brother, plays also at Xavier with him. Greg Rakestraw is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Let's go to semi-state action. Again, we mentioned it, a little bit of a scheduling twist. Think regional rounds from previous years. We'll have 2 games tomorrow morning at the semi-state sites and then a championship game at night. Rake, I think it's fair to say Ben Davis is the definite favorite in 4A. So 3A, 2A, and Class 1A. What's the most wide-open class?
So the most wide-open class, I would say, is probably 1A because the team that many thought was the favorite in Bloomfield got beat by Lutheran, and Remus Woods has done a great job on the southeast side. That is a very athletic team. They play a largely 2A, 3A schedule in their league in the Indiana Crossroads Conference. They hung with Lawrence North in the Marion County Tournament. It was a 2-point game the first night, and that's because Lutheran this year, maybe from a size standpoint, It's actually a bigger team than LN was. So Lutheran is certainly a possibility in 1A. I think Marquette Catholic coming from the north is a possibility as well. Lagodi will not be easy for Lutheran in the morning game tomorrow, but that's at the Hatchet House as well. So it's just literally down the road from Lagodi. But 1A is probably the most open. In 3A, Northwood is the heavy favorite, just as Ben Davis would be in 4A. And in 2A, I think it's likely going to come down to one of Brownstown or Linton in the south. And I kind of think Black Hawk Christian will be the team that makes it out of the north. But 3A, 4A, clear favorites. 2A, there's a couple of teams I can point to. 1A, I think, tends to be the most wide open of the four at this point.
Greg, what's the best story left in the tournament? I mean, aside from Ben Davis locally, I know that people know about that, but the hidden gem story, what's the best story remaining in the high school basketball tournament?
Well, I will stick with the team that is going to be potentially playing them in the evening game if they can find a way to get by Brownsburg, and that is Jennings County. Because Jennings County has not made a semi-state in 25 years. They have not played past the sectional round in 18 years. You know, they have struggled to keep up in the class basketball era. You know, they played in the Seymour sectional for many years, where if they were better than Seymour, they were largely going to win that sectional. Well, now their sectional every year has turned into the Hoosier Hills Conference Tournament. Well, that means they've been going up against New Albany, who's been really good for the better part of the last decade, or Floyd Central, who's been pretty good the last 3 or 4 years, or occasionally Jeffersonville. You know, the northern teams of that sectional. Bedford North Lawrence had not won a sectional since 2001. That's still the case. Seymour has not won one since the early 1990s. Jennings County had not won one since 2005. Well, they found a way to come from double digits down both of their first two games of the tournament against BNL and Jeffersonville. They have had easier times against New Albany in the sectional final and then Wrights in the regional. The other story has been the support of Jennings County. There might be more people actually at the games than live in Jennings County, because they have been drawing 4,000 and 5,000 to go watch them play at Seymour. A little more of a drive to get to Newcastle, and they start their spring break this week. But I still think the dominant color when I'm at Newcastle tomorrow will be blue, because those fans have been going crazy to watch their Panthers play deeper in the tournament than they have in a generation.
A lot of State Road 3. North on State Road 3 for the Jennings County folks. Rick, I was surprised to see they were in 4A. I guess when I think of like a 4A map, I didn't think Jennings County had enrollment at a 4A level.
Well, this is one of the things when you have a school that is the entire county, then you have a much larger population. My guess, I haven't looked this up, but my best bet would be they are somewhere in the 1,500, 1,600 enrollment, maybe a little bit less than that. But it's because the entire county goes to one high school is kind of the reason why they're a 4A school.
Pulling it up right now on their enrollment.
It has to be at least 1,100. That's why they would be in 4A.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember if they're 4A or 5A in football.
1181.
There you
Jennings
go.
County. Wow, I didn't realize the 4A cutoff goes all the way down to Marion is the cutoff in basketball, 1,047.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of there's conversation about potentially shrinking Class 4A because of the enrollment disparity from the top end, Carmel 5,400, A. Ben Davis 4,500, in that neighborhood, to again a school with 1,100 or 1,200. So there is talk about potentially shrinking 4A and expanding the other three classes to, again, you're not going to remedy completely that situation, but to try to make those enrollment gaps a little bit closer.
So then how many schools would you have in 4A? Because, I mean, the reality is
97 right now, by the way.
That many? Okay, because let me ask you this, Greg. We know in this area, I mean, Carmel's massive. The two Fisher schools, HSE and Fishers, are both massive. Ben Davis is big. The ones in like Fort Wayne, Gary, is there anybody that has that level enrollment, like 3,500 and more? I guess Mishawaka, Penn, are they up there?
Correct. So Penn is that level, Merrillville's that level, Lake Central is that level. Those are basically, off the top of my head, the three largest schools outside of Indianapolis. And because of the recent merger, as in the last 2 years, of Elkhart Central and Elkhart Memorial, I think Elkhart's at about that 3,000 level as well. Look, to put it in perspective, Jake, in terms of like, say, 6A, which is the top 32 when we get to football, you've got 3 Fort Wayne schools that are at that level, Carroll, Homestead, and Northrop. You've got 1 south of Columbus North, that is Jeffersonville. There are none in Evansville. There's a couple of 3 in the South Bend area, and there are several in the region. But I want to say that 18 or 19 of the 6A schools in football, again, meaning you're in the top 32 in the state, are all in the metro Indianapolis area.
Okay, Greg Rakestraw is with us. It's a busy Saturday on the high school scene with semi-state action. Certainly next week, all eyes will be over at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the state finals. I did want to throw a college question at you before we let you go, Rake. Tonight, it'll be Purdue at 6:50. It'll be Indiana at 9:55. When you factor in the ages of these respective programs, Purdue and Indiana, the players in the team, when you look at their seed, when you look at the history of each coach in the tournament, obviously very short for Mike Woodson, who's got more pressure on him for a tournament run, Indiana or Purdue?
Purdue, because they're the 1 seed. And because of, for the things that this group has done, winning a regular season championship, winning a tournament championship, when a team that had much higher expectations last year didn't do either of those things. Even though this group they've got accomplishments that they can forever brag about. Because of what's happened the last 40 years at Purdue, everything comes down to, how did you do in March? And I realize there's always pressure in Bloomington, and Mike Woodson is supposed to be hopefully the guy that leads to more postseason success. There is still the weight of being the number 1 seed versus being the number 4 seed. So there is more pressure on Purdue to have a deep tournament run than even the Indiana Hoosiers.
I mean, I feel like this group, Greg, is atoning for the shortcomings of last year's, right?
For Purdue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and frankly, I hope they do. I want to see them be in the Final Four. I want to see them win a national championship. But if there is another loss to a double-digit seed, if they are knocked off, say, again, I don't think there's any way Farleigh Dickinson does it, but if they are knocked off, and it's certainly possible on Sunday by either Florida Atlantic or Memphis, what you're going to hear, same old Boilermakers. And so, to me, that's why there's so much pressure on this group.
Newcastle bound, is that correct?
That is correct. So I have Brownsburg, Jennings County, Ben Davis, and Bloomington North tomorrow, and then I'm sure a visit to Mancino's and the Basketball Hall of Fame at some point in time in my near future.
I love it. I love it. Again, ISC Sports Network, semi-state action tomorrow. Greg Rakestraw out to Newcastle for those matchups, 10 and noon, and then 8 o'clock for the championship. Rake, having some great calls tomorrow.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, fellas. Thank you.
You too.
Somebody said I sound like Popeye instead of a leprechaun. That's probably fair.
Yeah, the ta-ta-ta, that one I don't think sounds very good. I actually think the leprechaun itself is pretty good.
Oh, you do?
Uh-huh.
Well, thank you.
Could you make a case?
That's kind of you.
Could you make a case more pressure on Indiana than Purdue when you consider Trayce Jackson-Davis, Jalen Hood-Schifino, or probably not going to be on your
I
team
tend
next
to
year?
agree with Greg. When you're the number 1 seed and you've been number 1 for the majority of the season.
So preseason expectations don't matter?
No, I think that
Purdue could bring the whole team back next year?
That's fair, but I think there's more pressure on Purdue. Because Purdue has also, and it's funny, because I'm not saying it's reality.
Certainly from a coach standpoint.
Correct. Purdue has
Painter's
the
history,
stigma to overcome of, falling short in March, which is funny because it's not like, I mean, listen. Indiana won a national championship 36 years ago. Like, I went to an Indiana game in 1987 and sat and looked up at the banner, and I saw the 1953 banner, and I knew about Slick Leonard hitting the free throws, and I knew it was in Kemper Arena in Kansas City, and they defeated Kansas 69-68. I knew that, but it was 34 years before that, and I'm like, well, that's like ancient history. Well, that's more recent than the 87 one is now.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a long time ago, man.
Someone born in 1989, yeah. I mean, when you put in that perspective, yeah. Yeah, I mean, certainly from a Matt Painter standpoint, the pressure is immense. If you look at it from an Indiana standpoint, I mean, Jake, the most notable thing they've done in the tournament the last 6 years is that cheerleader grabbing the ball off the top of the goal.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's really an interesting outlook for both programs because, again, Purdue could have the retention of everybody that's meaningful next year. In all likelihood with Indiana, they're going to lose their two best players. Purdue's overachieved. I'd say Indiana's probably been about what we thought they'd be. Maybe not in conference, but probably about what they thought. We thought they'd be seed-wise, everything this season. And if you look at it, again, you don't want to look too far ahead, but watching Houston last night, they look vulnerable like no other. They're banged up. Marcus Sasser, their best player, got hurt. I mean, that sets up really nicely. Granted, if you were a Purdue fan and you watched St. Peter's beat Kentucky on the opening night of the tournament last year, you would have said, pencil us in for the Elite Eight.
I just think one of the dangers of the tournament, from a fan standpoint, maybe more so than players, but one of the real dangers in the tournament is that risk, if you will, of looking ahead at the way the bracket's opening up for you and just thinking like, oh my gosh.
I mean, Purdue.
If we can just get past here, look at the road and how it's opened up. I mean, it's
Purdue last year. I mean, again, when North Carolina beat Baylor, Jake, in the second round last year, Purdue's road to the Final Four would have been, Purdue's a 3 seed, right?
Yeah.
So 14, that was Yale. Then they beat the 6 seed Texas, and then you would have had 15 seed St. Peter's and 8 seed North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes dangerous. You start convincing yourself. I still remember, I mean, in 88, Indiana got beat by Richmond in the opening round. Joe Hillman missed a shot out of the corner. And I literally, around 89 is when I finally got up off the living room floor. And because the road there had been an upset in front of them, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it again. Yeah, it wasn't going to happen, right? But you convince yourself of it. 89, man, when they went to Denver and got Andrew Gase went nuts for Seton Hall, and that Jay Edwards team got beat. Those are some rough days for young Jake.
Well, it was rough for Colleen Bowen. She was first trimester with Kevin.
When is your birthday again?
September.
Okay.
First 12 weeks. Brutal. She also claims that Ryan, my older brother, was born on March 14th. She claims that they served green food in the hospital. Do you believe that? I've had a hard time believing her.
Well, have you ever had hospital food? I mean, it's not surprising.
Well, yes, but I mean, green food?
Green eggs. Well, spinach.
Like
salads?
Everything was green.
It seems hard to believe.
1984, do you believe it?
You know what? FDA wasn't even around back then, Kevin. Are you kidding me? They put food coloring in everything. What the hell did we care? Yeah, I mean, eat anything. When I was a kid for dessert, we'd have mercury. Whatever you want. Right?
We wonder why the brain is the way it is for you.
Do you remember the popcorn back in the 90s that was like colored? It was like green and red and all that stuff. Like it was just like you never knew what color you're going to get. I think it was like a Pop Secret spinoff or something.
We used to just do Jiffy Pop. Put that bad boy right there on the stove.
Movie theater concoction here.
Watch it inflate like the Hoosier Dome.
What was it called? Pop Quiz Popcorn. That's what it was.
Wait, are you trying to transition to the pop quiz right now?
No, but that's what it was. Pop QWIZ. That's what it was.
Freebie Friday for the pop quiz.
A collaborative team effort. This is our first pop quiz of the week, isn't it?
No,
we had one yesterday.
We had a 5 for 5er on Monday.
Yeah, and we had one yesterday.
Did we do it yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the guy we promised that you had to go 4 for 5, and then you gave it to him anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sold us out to dry.
Tom was his name. Tom. I think Jake called him Bob at one point.
That's right.
He said that Jake was his favorite person.
Yesterday was a rough day for me. I need you guys to just be a little bit more compassionate and understanding.
It does seem like you're feeling better.
Day. Yeah, I am. I'm feeling better.
Oh yeah, he's been busting out the Irish leprechaun impression every 5 minutes.
Understandable on that front. Okay, so the pop quiz 317-239-1070 for that. Let's do a morning checkdown.
The morning checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jake, this is not hyperbole. The Pacers had their win of the year last night. Against Giannis, against Chris Middleton, against Drew Holiday, no Tyrese Haliburton. They beat the Bucks by 16. They had lost 10 straight to Milwaukee, all by at least 9 points. I think I saw it was the first time they had beaten a Giannis-led Bucks team since 2018.
It is amazing.
You're playing 4 times a year.
Right. George Hill, nice game for him. Coming off the bench, 15 in the homecoming, if you will, against Milwaukee. TJ McConnell was great. 19 points, 12 assists.
Nembhard in the second half took it to another level.
Nembhard has shown that there are games where you can really rely on him. He had 24. Buddy Hill with 20. Aaron Neesmith with 22. Solid effort last night for the Blue and Gold.
And again, not only no Haliburton, but of course still no Benedict Mathurin. We'll see about their returns. On the Haliburton front, he's going to be out at least 2 more games. That's tomorrow night with the Sixers. Monday, I want to say they're in Charlotte or Toronto. I kind of forget where they're at. Coming up on Monday. Here was Rick Carlisle last night after, again, the victory of the season.
Not a great first half, but really a special second half. And our level of aggression, our attitude was much, much better. And just in terms of understanding how we needed to play to have a chance to hang in and get a win here. First, this is our franchise's first ever win in this building, which speaks to how difficult it is to win here and has been ever since this place opened, how great a team they are. But this was it was special to have an opportunity to break through with some of our younger players playing key roles in the game. And it's a great win.
Rick Carlisle always seems to have a sniffle. You ever notice that?
Well, the thing I really like about Rick Carlisle is he always answers a question in a very interesting way. He doesn't repeat many words. I don't sense a lot of cliches with him.
Fair.
He's got a great vocab.
He thinks a lot about what he's going to say.
He's got some Mark Boyle in the vocab on that end from Rick Carlisle. Again, Pacers tomorrow night with the Sixers at Cambridge.
You mentioned, by the way, Benedict Mathurin. He might have been actually still sulking because his alma mater, Arizona, one of the upsets yesterday in the NCAA Tournament, 15th seeded Princeton, bouncing second seeded Arizona, 59-55. That was one of the big stories, along with Furman, who defeated Virginia 68-67. That's what March Madness is all about. Other winners yesterday, in case you were for some reason under a rock, here you go. Northwestern over Boise State, Auburn over Iowa. It was Arkansas over Illinois, Maryland over West Virginia, Missouri over Utah State, Tennessee over Louisiana, San Diego State over Charleston, Penn State, very impressive over Texas A&M, 76-59. Duke over Oral Roberts. UCLA, the biggest blowout so far, 33-point win over UNC Asheville. Texas by 20 over Colgate. Kansas over Howard. Houston over Northern Kentucky. And Alabama, who looked really good, over Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Big Ten went 3-2 yesterday. Maryland was a winner. Penn State was a winner. And Northwestern was a winner. You had losses yesterday from Iowa,
Illinois,
and Illinois. A lot of 7, 8, 9, 10 matchups. Jake, you see Brandon Miller was scoreless for Alabama? 0 for 5 from the field.
They look good, though, man. I mean, they just were.
You think any of this was getting to him?
That's a good question.
I was just thinking, you picked Arizona to win. Was that because of the Benedict Mathurin effect?
It was not. No, I can't really. The Alabama stuff is a little bit too shady for me. I just can't root for him.
Fair.
So I had them get to the Elite Eight, and then I said, screw it. I don't want to cheer for them anymore.
I didn't really enjoy picking them as my winner, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so that's where I went.
They
Arizona.
do feel a little bit just
it's slimy.
Grimy, yep.
A little slimy for me. Today, the early slate of games, so no one works past noon on St. Patrick's Day. USC, Michigan State at 12:15. Kennesaw State.
Speak for yourself. I'm working all day.
They've got Xavier at 12:40. Baylor has got the Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara.
The Gauchos.
At 1:30.
Go ahead, now do it.
And VCU
I had to
taking
go get me
on
my float.
Randy Bennett and St. Mary's at 2. I like VCU.
I have VCU the upset.
I have my two favorite T-shirts are a VCU T-shirt and a St. Mary's T-shirt.
You never wear the Peacocks T-shirt.
I did.
Does that still
I do
fit?
You know what? I'll wear it Monday. Does it still fit? Are you implying that I've gained weight?
That was kind of a shot, Kev.
It could be the reverse. Maybe Jake's lost a lot of weight. Doesn't have to mean that
you're
you're
going to mention the
weight.
Peacocks.
I strut because I'm cut. Remember?
Isn't there a strut logo on?
Yes,
or like a
it's
phrase?
the peacock strutting. It is the strutting peacock. I will wear it on Monday. Unless St. Mary's or VCU finds themselves in the Sweet 16, in which case
he has to find that shirt.
Is it like
first,
a big
Kev.
ram
No, I know exactly
on the
where it
VCU
is.
shirt?
Do you want me to send you a picture of it by 10:30?
No.
See?
No, I won't see because you're not going to send it to me.
Other games of note today, Providence, Kentucky, that leads off. That's a CBS game, I should say. It's 7 o'clock. Providence's leading scorer is a Kentucky transfer. That's a bit of a juicy storyline. And I'm looking forward to the game lead into Indiana-Kent State. I'm looking forward to Miami and Drake.
That's going to be a good game. Very intrigued by that game.
And you like Creighton, NC State, right?
Yeah, I think Creighton, NC State's intriguing as well because I just got a weird feeling about NC State. They'll get beat, but I've got a feeling they're one of those that could, everybody said they shouldn't be in the tournament, and here they are, and they're in the Sweet 16.
So who's your biggest upset today?
It's probably VCU for me.
Let's see here.
I guess Kent State by seed.
You think Kent State will beat Indiana, huh?
I've got, Kent State. But again, this comes from the guy that had Arizona win it all. I got Drake in the Sweet 16, so if you want to go like a little bit further, Mark, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I've got Drake in the Sweet 16
I wouldn't
also.
be surprised if Arizona State beats TCU. Would that be an upset?
I have a lot of people reaching out to me being like, how dare you disparage your alma mater by picking Kent State? Do they want honesty or homerism?
Right.
My 6-year-old filled out her bracket. She's got Grand Canyon winning the whole thing.
So that's the highest over-under of round one, Grand Canyon and Gonzaga.
She's pulling for the Antelopes.
And that's Bryce Drew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they Antelopes?
Yep. Yeah, she had the Richmond Spiders last year. This year she went Grand Canyon.
The Antelopes, really?
I think didn't I get your daughter a Richmond
You
Spiders?
did. She loves it.
What was it?
She was holding it and she was cheering. She said, "Go Richmond!" every time they scored a game. They're scored in the game.
Is she looking for them in this year's tournament?
No, she's like
a big upset last year. Them
USC over Michigan State.
All she said after she felt, she's like, "I hope my team wins." I'm like, "Well, that's a good attitude to have. You're doing better than Kevin right now."
Well, positivity is not there. Again, burnt toast. I'm at the stage where Rosie is tall enough to where she can reach the toaster, and she always likes to turn the dial up to 5 setting, so it burns rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That was my bracket. She turned it all the way to 5. I left the room for 5 minutes. My English muffin was as black as my phone case. All right, pop quiz coming up next. 317-239.
Do you know what goes well with an English muffin?
Irish coffee.
The Bottle Works B-Ball Bash every day at the Bottle Works District from noon to 9 p.m. Food and drinks are available outside as you catch all the college basketball action on giant LED screens.
Guys, solve your ED today with an intimacy guarantee. Only at the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. If you don't perform, you don't pay. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic at 999-9000. 999-9000.
Do you need new tires? Let me tell you about AAA's new mobile replacement tire service, My Pit Crew. Jake Query here. My Pit Crew, a new mobile replacement tire service from AAA, offers a convenient way to have new tires installed on your car without ever leaving your home or office. The process is simple. Pick out tires online at aaa.com/mypitcrew. Schedule your appointment and then relax. A My Pit Crew technician will come to install and balance your new tires at a time and location convenient for you. That's correct. I did exactly that. Got brand new tires put on my vehicle right there in my own home when the My Pit Crew showed up right there at my house to put the new tires on my car. With My Pit Crew, they bring the tire shop to you. Plus, you don't even have to be a AAA member to use My Pit Crew, but AAA members do get a discount on their My Pit Crew tire installation. Visit aaa.com/mypitcrew to pick out tires and schedule your installation. Then relax and let them come to you. Don't spend another Saturday at the tire shop. Contact the My Pit Crew team today.
You know, many people my age who went to college, they'll do something great in the future. But I'm doing something great now.
If you like seeing what you accomplish every day, why not make that your career instead of a desk job?
I know a lot of people without any direction. Well, my direction is up while I help build this high-rise.
Your training is free, so you learn while you earn.
My friends are hoping to graduate in the next 4 years. By then, I will have helped lay down about another 10 roads.
Careers as a union laborer are rewarding and ready now. As a member of Laborers Local 120, you'll earn good pay and benefits with lots of job choices.
I do pipeline work. I'm a concrete finisher.
I lay miles and miles of asphalt.
I'm Chris Brickey, business manager of Laborers Local 120. Join us at our upcoming job fair, Friday, March 24th, from noon to 3 at the Work One Indy at 4410 North Shademan. Meet our contractors and learn about a career as a construction craft laborer.
Hey everyone, it's Jake from Payless Liquors. Join us on Saturday the 18th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at East Street to try our new Yellowstone and High West single barrels. If you're lucky, you might leave with a pot of bourbon. Charlie said sell it, so stock up for the tournament with these great prices. The new Sunny D Vodka Seltzer for $9.99, Busch Light and Rolling Rock 12-case bottles for $9.99, Proper 12 and Jameson 750s for $24.99, and Bushmills 750s for $23.99. Why pay more when you can pay less here at Payless Liquors?
Hellsberg Diamonds presents The Guy Who Did His Homework. When it came to Jill's engagement ring, Brady knew exactly what to get.
Okay, so I came up with a design and showed it to all of our friends.
She'll love it.
Then he went to Hellsberg. Their incredible selection of high-quality, lab-grown, and natural diamonds made creating that special ring easy. Her reaction?
I love it. Can't wait to tell everybody.
Everybody might know about it.
Be like Brady. Create the ring of your dreams at a Hellsberg near you or at hellsberg.com. Ask now about special financing offers.
The Ride with JMV.
Here's Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers. How special has this season been for you and your team so far?
Winning the Phil Knight's tournament against the quality competition, being able to win our league by 3 games, then being able to win the tournament, that was huge for our guys. It's a great accomplishment. Our guys have really hung in there. Being 7-3 on the road in the Big Ten might be the biggest accomplishment.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Freebie Friday on this St. Patrick's Day. It looks like the rain, thankfully, has stopped, right? So now it's just cold the rest of the day?
It's just gross.
I could handle cold, but just that ugly rain. Yesterday was terrible. Just terrible.
Yeah, it's just gross outside. It's disappointing.
317-239-1070 for the Pop Quiz. Jake, this is a combo effort from Jake and myself. Right. Jake, number 1 through 8.
You know what? You said 89. That always makes me think of my favorite IU basketball team, and their best player was Jay Edwards, number 3. God, I always go number 3 for Jay.
Dork. Chris.
Excuse me?
Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Chris, how you doing?
Good, man. Just got off work.
Nice. Chris, is this Forklift Chris?
Forklift Chris, yes, sir.
So, Chris, you get out, what time do you go into work?
That's a pretty cool nickname.
11 p.m.
So 11 to 9, is that your shift?
Yeah, it's anywhere from 11 to 8, 11 to 10.
What time is lunch?
I never really take one. Just go to the bathroom, and I can't eat and sit down on a forklift, and my stomach be killing me all night, so I pass.
And then what time do you go to bed?
About 3. Sleeping about 3 to 10.
Okay. Well, I think when you wake up, Indiana might just be tipping off if you're an IU fan.
Yeah, I'll probably miss some of it.
No, how long have you been doing this schedule?
Been there a couple years.
So, I mean, are you totally used to it by now, or is it like on your days off, is it an adjustment, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh, it's adjustment. Come Monday night, when I go back into work, it's definitely adjustment. So
God, I can imagine.
Yeah, hard to sleep during the day.
Chris, I think this quiz is pretty doable. So good luck. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and good luck on it.
You too. Thank you.
Would you like for me, that would be Jake, or for Kevin to lead you off?
I'll go with Kevin. No offense, Jake.
None taken.
All right, Chris, number 1. Which team won yesterday in the first round of the NCAA Tournament that has never lost an opening round game? Missouri, Duke, Auburn, or Maryland?
I'll go with
kind of an intense coach.
Intense coach. I'll go with Maryland.
He's been known to have his shirt off in the Tennessee student section before.
Question number 2, including Gardner Minshew, can you name the other 2 quarterbacks currently on the Indianapolis Colts roster?
Ellinger.
The other guy is a statue, right?
That's right. The other guy ran a play called the Philly Special, helped the Eagles win a Super Bowl.
Nick Foles.
Okay.
All right, Chris, number 3. Which team that lost yesterday has never won an opening round game? Boise State, Utah State, West Virginia, or Oral Roberts?
I'll go with Oral Roberts.
Okay. Chris, who is the all-time leading scorer for career NCAA tournament games? So basically, the all-time cumulative leading scorer in NCAA tournament history. Is it Lou Alcindor of UCLA, Austin Carr of Notre Dame, Christian Laettner of Duke, or Stacey Augmon of UNLV?
We're going to go with Laettner.
Okay.
All right, and to round it out, Chris, the Pacers won last night in Milwaukee. Who led them in scoring? Is it A, Andrew Nembhard, B, O'Shea Brissett, C, Miles Turner, or D, Jalen Smith?
Nembhard.
Strong close there by Chris.
Thanks.
Indeed, a strong close.
Chris seems like a polite fellow. He said thank you after that. That was very nice of him.
All right, Chris, let's see how you did. You knew that, yes, in fact, Sam Ehlinger and Nick Foles will be in the quarterback room along with Gardner Minshew. Seeing which one of them wants to take the bet that he could throw a football over the mountains.
Yeah, he was right on the last two. Nembhard, the leading scorer. Christian Laettner, the all-time cumulative scoring leader in NCAA tournament history. Jake, the two slip-ups, though, were the Auburn Tigers. They have never lost an opening round game. And the team that's never won an opening round game, or Roberts made the Sweet 16 a couple years ago, Boise State.
West Virginia came to a Final Four here.
Thanks, Chris. Down the line.
You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get a lousy copy of our home game. You're a complete loser.
Now, is that for Princeton?
Princeton Tiger there?
Auburn.
Oh,
Auburn Tiger?
Okay.
Come on, guys.
Auburn, by the way, came here in 1987 at the RCA Dome, won the opening round. Second round, I believe, was leading Indiana at the half. Keith Smart had 15 assists in that game. Indiana went on to win 107-90 in the second round of 1987.
A wild stat I saw watching the games yesterday. If you combine the losses from the 4 number 1 seeds and the 4 number 12 seeds, the 12 seeds have just one more loss than the 1 seeds.
Really? Well, I mean, Kansas has lost. Kansas has 7, I think. Purdue's got what, 5 or 6?
Purdue's got 5. Alabama's got 5. Houston has 3. Now, it should be noted, both 12 seeds lost yesterday. That would be Oral Roberts to Duke. They got smoked. And then College of Charleston, and just a horrific beat for Kevin Bowen's Cinderella bet. They lose to San Diego State. Are we taking any 12s today? Are we taking VCU? Are we taking Drake?
Well, there's always one that does it, right?
I've got both of them winning.
If you're an IU fan, are you glad that a 13 seed won yesterday? Does that mean that that'll be the only one?
Yeah, you want to get that out of the way, right?
A couple of years ago, we had 2. North Texas over Purdue was one of them right here. That was also the COVID tournament.
Boy, North Texas, yeah. I went to the North Texas Villanova game. I think I told you, Kevin, that was the game that I went to, North Texas and Villanova at Gainbridge Fieldhouse during the COVID tournament. And they only allowed in like 500 people or something. And there were a bunch of Villanova fans at the game. You could only sit on one side of the arena. And there were a bunch of fans for Villanova behind the Villanova bench. And you could hear everything. You could hear Jay Wright coaching his team because it was, there was nobody in the place. And with about 2 minutes to go in the game, it's like a 20-point game. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And all these people started moving. And then it dawned on me that the Villanova fans realized that the kids from North Texas didn't have many fans there. So at the end of the game, they got up and moved over and sat behind the North Texas bench to be able to give them a hand when they came out of the game.
Wow. That's like third grade classy right there.
Totally. Jay Wright, I've got all the respect in the world for Jay Wright and Villanova and the way that they did everything.
Villanova, it probably was the Sweet 16 that year. They played at Hinkle. And Maddie and I took Rosie over to Butler's campus, and we just had lunch over there. And it was a beautiful day. I'll never forget it. A bunch of Villanova fans walking around campus. They'd never been to Hinkle. They were like in awe.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, which is just.
I remember the tournament.
It was like cool to see.
The Final Four one year. All these people were coming. When Butler really, it was the year Butler was in the Final Four here, and the fans that were coming, and everybody had to go to Hinkle. It became this instant basketball cathedral.
Yeah, well,
Ryan Robertson was my buddy that. I didn't even know you could go to games at Gainbridge that year, and he's like, hey, man, I've got an extra ticket. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Nick Sirianni said that to us, right? The one regret he had living here in Indy for those years was not going to a game at Hinkle.
Yeah. And that's coming from a guy that had chances to go to games at the Palestra, which is equally cool.
All right, we'll round it out one final time here. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay?
Between you and me,
It was lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference.
Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me.
Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HEFTY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 321-321. That's HEFTY to 321-321.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. This ad is paid for by the settlement specialists.
Attention all current and former firefighters, including civilian and military firefighters. If you or someone you love was exposed to chemical-based firefighting foam or AFFF and were diagnosed with cancers such as bladder, kidney, prostate, testicular, and pancreatic cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Call 800-615-3064 now to see if you qualify. Chemical-based firefighting foam or AFFF has been used for decades to fight fires because it's highly effective at extinguishing petroleum and jet fuel fires. But studies have shown that chemicals used to make AFFF are highly toxic to humans. The Centers for Disease Control and American Cancer Society have reported that these chemicals may be linked to various cancers. If you or someone you love was exposed to chemical-based firefighting foam, call now as you may be entitled to significant compensation. Don't wait. Time is limited. Call 800-615-3064 now to see if you qualify. Call 800-615-3064. 800-615-3064. 800-615-3064.
Spring in Indy. And since 2001, Rhino Shield has been covering Indiana homes and businesses. Just ask Mike.
I was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad, and I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
And Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
Business owners, you too can get the 25-year protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
They started on the building. They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and you couldn't even tell they were here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Hey, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
Looking for family fun or a night out with friends? Royal Pin Entertainment has you covered. Skip the line and make a reservation online at royalpin.com. Looking to host an event or have a small group? Royal Pin is here to help. Contact their sales team to get a deal on parties of 20 or more. Just email events@royalpin.com. With 3 convenient locations around Indianapolis, Royal Pin offers bowling, laser tag, mini golf, and arcades. Awesome family fun. Call your local center at 317-465-8484 or go to royalpin.com to get the ball rolling with Royal Pin.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
Call 317-465-8484 or go to royalpin.com today.
Royal Pin. Bowling, bowling.
Royal Pin.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a great escape. With 35 miles of white sand, there's no better place to get away. So let's explore the secluded beaches of Fort DeSoto or paddle our way around Honeymoon Island. Let's kick back, kayak, and catch crimson sunsets. Let's trade snow boots for bathing suits. Let's make today and tomorrow a beach day. Let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
The Pacers return home to face the Philadelphia 76ers tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I got to look up in the tree. Who else in the leprechaun say yeah?
Oh, beautiful work by Marc Dykton. As he heads down to just a little bit south of Tampa, is that correct, Marc?
Yep. We're going to see my mother-in-law and sister-in-law down in Northport, Florida for a couple days. And then we're doing the Disney experience next week. I know.
I will. And if anybody believes in prayer out there, put Mark Dykton down on the list.
Long as they got some jalapeno pretzels.
How many Buc-ees do they have on the drive down?
Well, sir, I believe there's at least 3.
Now,
how great would that be if you're like, 7. The first one is in Richmond, Kentucky. The next one's Valdosta, Georgia.
Exit 46. How many stops? If there are 3 Buc-ees during the drive, you will stop at how many of the 3?
Well, they're each a good distance from each other. So, I mean, you always do bathroom checks and all that. I'd say we're stopping at least 2.
God, the girls have to love Buc-ee's.
Oh, they do.
Have you been to one, Kevin?
No.
It is like Disney World.
Again, the closest is Richmond, Kentucky. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that'll be the one, probably the first rest stop we make, unless someone needs an unexpected detour.
Do you think there's anyone,
probably a good bet on that, Mark,
from the Indianapolis area or equivalent distance thereof, who has ever done a day trip just to go to Buc-ee's?
Yes.
Yeah, I bet it.
Yeah, I think we're
especially because of this show.
I think we're looking at him.
Like, what's the big deal with this place?
I think we're looking at him. I think he's the one.
It's
and only.
the banana pudding. That's
Mark
what
Dykton.
it is, right?
I've never had the banana pudding.
The banana bread pudding. Oh man, yeah. What about the rattlesnake jerky?
I haven't had that yet either. I'm gonna have to make a list.
Are you sure you've been to Buc-ee's?
I have.
Okay.
You get lost in that? Oh, are you kidding?
God, that's blasphemy.
There's just so many good things. You get lost in
put
the.
Put that accusation on Mark that he hasn't.
I'll walk out right now.
Been there. Again, 6:50 tonight. Purdue and Farleigh Dickinson, 22.5-point favorites. Indiana 4.5 over Kent State. Jake, any concern you have for Indiana tonight?
Yeah, I think there's always concern. Kent State's guard play, if they're able to take Indiana, I think Indiana is going to be able to get what they want out of Trayce Jackson-Davis. But if Kent State's guards are able to kind of dictate the pace and put some pressure on Indiana in the backcourt, it could be a long night for Indiana. The better question would be this: when we reconvene on Monday, will both Indiana and Purdue be alive?
That's a good question. Purdue's second-round matchup, Memphis and Florida Atlantic, both of those teams, I think, can provide great challenges for Purdue. And just, they're unique. Memphis gets up and down the floor. They score at a high rate, not a great defensive team. A great guard in Kendrick Davis. Florida Atlantic, we've talked about it. Dusty May's team won 31 games, and they've got, this year in the Big Ten, you didn't have a Kofi Coburn or a Luka Garza. Obviously, Trayce Jackson-Davis is a great big guy, but from a pure height standpoint, Zach Edey hasn't seen 7'1", 240. Granted, that guy hasn't seen Zach Edey, so I'd be really curious to see how he reacts to that.
I do think that Edey's footwork can make matchups challenging for somebody who's that big, because I'm guessing somebody 7 foot hasn't necessarily had to contend with the fleet of foot nature around the rim as Zach Edey. You know what I mean?
Again, USC Michigan State will begin things at 12:15 today. I've got a buddy in Vegas right now for the first rounds of the tournament. Would that ever entice you?
Yeah, I always thought, I'm not a Vegas guy, but that would be, I thought about that last night actually, because just, all the games going on all the screens, and you got people living and dying, and I always thought it'd be fun to just go and say, you know what, I'm going to literally take $350 and put down $10 on every first round game and just see where the chips fall on what happens, on how much you could win. Do you come out ahead?
Would it be too much?
Though I think it could be too much.
Not your bet, but
no. Just sensory overload and everything.
Right.
I do think you'd get pretty worn out after a while. Yeah, you'd have to pace yourself. If you're if you're drinking and eating appetizers and stuff the whole time, it'd be some long days.
First game's 9:15 local time, right?
Yeah.
12:15 here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michigan State, USC will get things underway. Xavier, Kennesaw State to follow.
The thing that's always hard is after these first 2 days, then like on Sunday, you're expecting game after game after game, and you're like, wait, but what happened? Where are all the games? Well, oh, that's right. There's not as many of them.
I mentioned this a couple times just for IU and Purdue fans looking ahead to Sunday, and I guess I'll throw it out there today, or again. Jake, these are the 8 tip times for Sunday. So Purdue or Indiana, if they win, they would be slotted into one of these 8. Noon, 2:30, 5, 6, 7, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30. So we only get 2 games until 5 o'clock. That's a far cry from what we get on Thursday and Friday. Right. So if you're Purdue and Indiana fans looking ahead to Sunday, probably mark off a little bit more of your evening than anything.
Where were you guys 5 years ago today? Kevin, did you break any stories 5 years ago today?
5 years ago today? Gosh, NCAA tournament related, Colts related?
Colts related.
5 years ago today. St. Patrick's Day of...
Trade back with the Jets?
18.
Is that the anniversary?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
trade.
actually, I know exactly where I was. I was at my wife's friend Eileen Kenny's house. We were getting ready to go out for a drink for St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. Yeah, they traded back from 3 to 6, right, with the Jets?
Yep. Ended up selecting Quentin Nelson.
Then, I'm with Rick Venturi. Trade up to 3. Be the one fielding the calls. You can always trade back again. I think a big thing with that is, Jake, over the next couple of weeks, that is when teams will complete their personality profiles on these quarterbacks. So what you're doing by trading up is you're getting ahead of, in case either you fall in love with somebody even more or another team does. Because let's say the Titans go to Anthony Richardson's private workout, or they go and visit him in Florida and they fall in love. Well, now they're going to want to trade up. But if you're in the position of 3, now you field the calls. You are at the first breaking point of the draft.
But what if you feel like Richardson and Levis are Boardwalk and Park Place?
If they're that even, that would be, I guess, the one area where it would probably not be worth it to move up.
Because right now I feel like that's where they feel they are.
Yeah, I just... Maybe take Will Anderson then. Do you find a team that is defensive hungry? Do they look at Will Anderson and say, hey, this is the best edge rusher in the class. This is a guy that's going to be a 10-sack guy for the next decade. I'm going to come straighten up for you.
Kevin, the one thing that I think hurts him a little bit, and you mentioned this at the Combine. It's a good point. And that is, what we do know now is it's not like there's a team that's going to trade up into 3 to get Jalen Carter, right?
Yeah, the Jalen Carter fall is not good for the Colts.
Where do you think he, at this point, and for those that don't know, Jalen Carter, the, thought by everybody to be the best talent in this draft out of Georgia, the defensive player who had the issues off field, and then in addition to that, apparently had a disastrous pro day. How far do you think that he falls?
Boy, middle, round 1?
Warren Sapp?
Is that too far?
No, that's basically what happened to Warren Sapp, right? Warren Sapp fell, and Randy Moss as well. Everybody was going to be they showed all their scruples because they had to hold on and hold it off. Okay, but look what happened, right?
Yeah, I just look at it. I can't see like Levis and Richardson both being even. I think there's got to be separation at some level in these prospects. And a large part of that separation is, again, from the head up. And that's where I think Will Levis does check an important box for the Colts.
Yeah. I'm telling you. I think Ballard is conservative anyway. I don't blame him. And I think he's looking at it going, hey, you know what? I'll let everybody else mortgage, and I'm just going to sit where I am. I could be totally wrong in that.
I mean, the whole not blaming him. I mean, what is his patience worked in the first 6 years?
No argument there. But he's got a clean slate, and he's got all the time in the world. So
we'll see if we see any other veteran cuts. Again, about $2 million they could save if they cut Nick Foles, Ryan Kelly.
That would have to be done by when?
North of 8. I don't think there's any big dates due on Nick Foles. I'd have to double check that, but I don't think there's anything too big on that front, like there was with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's deadline was today. We'll see about Nick Foles. We'll see about Kenny Moore, Ryan Kelly. I still think O-line, corner, wideout, big needs. Marc, safe travels, man.
Thank you very much. I miss you guys.
Good luck on that car ride, and good luck at Disney.
I will.
Okay. Are you going to check in with us each morning at about 6:50?
I might have to.
Is that? Am I seeing clear skies by Riley Towers, or is that?
Yeah, I'm starting to see
wishful
it.
Thinking.
I hope so, man.
Yeah, no rain, I guess, but definitely chilly weather for this St. Patrick's Day. Everybody be safe. Enjoy the games tonight. We will recap all of the madness coming up on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend.